after the changes, such as capping at £26,000 the annual amount of benefits a household can claim. Well, Labour MP Frank Field, who's a former welfare minister, says it's wrong.
People are going to run into rent arrears. Rent arrears won't be collected. People will get used to behaving badly. The whole thing is going to be grim for the country, but particularly grim for those people who the government's trying to bully.
Meanwhile, there's been a controversial shake-up in the way the NHS in England's organised. Clinical commissioning groups led by GPs have taken charge of a large portion of the NHS budget. They'll decide how to spend funds on local services from hospital to community-based clinics. People we spoke to in the three counties seem to be unaware, though, of those changes, including Alina from Luton.
I'm not too sure about what changes are taking place. I suffer from a long-term illness, so I'm constantly within the GP surgery and hospital, but yet I'm not aware of the changes which are taking place within the NHS.
Parents angry at Luton Borough Council for taking away school transport for their children have had an e-petition with more than 1,000 names rejected. The local authority said it couldn't accept the form without addresses. Members of the Cardinal Newman Preserve Our School Transport Committee plan to return to the council offices today with a paper petition in an attempt to force a debate on the issue. And scientists from Salford University have given a warning that substantial quantities of whitefish in Britain are labelled incorrectly. They discovered that 7% of cod and haddock was in fact cheaper fish. Dr. Stefano Mariani, who led the research, explains why it might be mislabelled. And in Championship news, Leeds United manager Neil Warnock has parted company with the Championship club. Warnock left his job around 2 hours after Leeds' 2-1 defeat by Derby on Monday. So let's turn to the weather then, and it's cold and frosty, but then we're going to see some bright sunny spells later on. Temperatures of 7 degrees Celsius, that's 45 in Fahrenheit. There's more news and sport online at bbc.co.uk/3 counties. BBC Three Counties Radio, first for news.
This is Iain Lee, BBC Three Counties Radio. Frost on my windscreen in April. No. Hands up who had the worst night's sleep ever last night. Just me. Terrible night's sleep. Made worse because we've just moved into our new house. We haven't got curtains in all of the rooms yet. So my eldest, when I was saying to him it's bedtime now, it was brilliant sunshine. It's not bedtime, Daddy. It's still daytime. So we had an argument for about 30 minutes. Finally got him upstairs into bed. He's lying in bed, but Daddy, it's still light. I said, well, I know, that when winter turns into spring and the clocks have gone forward, and trying to explain all this conceptual stuff to a 3-year-old. And he said, well, I tell you what, Daddy, why don't we sit up and look at the sky until it goes dark? Then I'll go to sleep. Yeah, right, I see, like that, is it? He went to sleep, woke up at 11, got into bed with me, and then weed everywhere. It was... No, he did. I woke up with a 3-year-old climbing all over me going, Daddy, I've done a wee-wee. Oh, thanks so much. What did I do? I put a towel on it and went back to sleep. Good morning. Lots coming up in the show. Lots has been happening in Beds, Hearts and Bucks overnight, including a football fan has been stabbed after their coach was attacked in Luton yesterday. Reporter Justin Dealey has been finding out what happened, and he'll be joining me next. Now, if you drop passengers off at Luton Airport, it's going to cost you £1 for 10 minutes. We all know that. Well, guess what? From today, the charge has increased. It's now £2, but you get an extra 5 minutes. Worth the extra money or just a complete rip-off? And solicitors have warned people could start taking the law into their own hands as changes to legal aid come into force. We'll be looking at what the changes are and how you could be affected. Lots of ways to get in touch. Facebook.com/BBC3CR. You can send me a text, 81333. Start your text 3CR. Or, and look, the phone lines are completely free, for goodness sakes. Why don't you give me a phone call? Are you going to be the first caller on the show this morning? Talking about any of the stuff I've mentioned or anything else. It doesn't really matter. 08459 455 555.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Now, a football fan has been stabbed and another taken to hospital after their coach was attacked in Luton. It happened yesterday in Dunstable Street near the Mansfield Road junction. Well, Justin Dealey has more details. Justin, what do we know so far?
Iain, good morning. Well, the two men were among 5 busloads of supporters who had travelled up to support Kidderminster Harriers against Luton Town yesterday. Bedfordshire Police said as the coaches queued in the traffic about a mile from Kenilworth Road. This didn't happen outside the ground, so around a mile from Kenilworth Road, an argument broke out between local residents and Kidderminster supporters in the rear coach. So that's what happened after the game yesterday.
So when exactly did it happen?
What happened after the game is that the vehicles were leaving Luton on the return journey back to Kidderminster. A police spokesman said it led to the coach being attacked. Then some of the supporters got off to remonstrate, and this is when a fight ensued. 2 Kidderminster fans are being treated in hospital for non-life-threatening injuries, although one of those fans was stabbed twice.
Has anyone been arrested?
4 local men have been arrested over this, and police are now investigating the violence which broke out in Dunstable Street. This was near the Mansfield Road junction. Police said the attackers did not appear to have any connection to Luton Town. I think this is quite key here, Iain, that's what the police are saying. Lots of reports last night about who may have done this. Was it connected to Luton Town? The police are saying that's not the case. Kidderminster won the game. They won the game 2-1, which has now left them top of the conference table.
What have people been saying about this, Justin?
Well, Steve Millington, the chairman of the Kidderminster Harriers Independent Supporters Trust, he said that we deplore the attack on the coach. This shouldn't happen in football or society in general. He goes on to say that we are pleased to hear the injuries to the lad who was stabbed are not thought to be life-threatening, and we wish both these who were taken to hospital a speedy recovery. A spokesman for the East of England Ambulance Service confirmed it had taken 2 men to hospital. They say we conveyed 2 people, one a 38-year-old man, to the Luton and Dunstable Hospital.
And as always with things like this, there was lots of speculation on Twitter and Facebook and other social media sites, but we should all be taken with a slight pinch of salt. But what kind of things have people been saying on there?
Well, all sorts of things were being said last night before we saw this police statement. You may have seen on Twitter last night people's views again towards Luton Town supporters and what sort of fans they are. Well, the police, of course, in their statement which came out last night said, we believe the attackers have no connection to Luton Town Football Club. And this did happen not outside the ground, it happened around a mile away from the ground as well. But the club as well, quick to distance themselves. Obviously we don't know the true facts, and those facts again may come out later in the day as the day goes on, but clearly a lot of people with nasty comments about Luton Town and their supporters. But the police quick to come out last night and say this attack happened, but we believe at this moment in time there is no connection to Luton Town Football Club.
Justin, thanks for that. What can we expect from you for the rest of the morning?
Well, I'll be heading up to the area very, very soon. We believe last night, still quite late into the night, there was a police presence there. Is that presence still there? And we'll try and speak to a few locals as well who may have seen this happen yesterday.
Justin Dealey, thank you very much. This is Iain Lee, BBC Three Counties Radio. 08459 455 555. They've increased the waiting charges at Luton Airport. Was a quid? Now it's £2. I think a quid was a rip-off, let alone 2.
Your love lifted me higher than I've ever been lifted before. So keep it up, quench my desire, and I'll be at your side forevermore. You know your love keep on lifting higher, higher and higher. I said your love
like a bit of Jackie Wilson, but that's the only song I know of his. I tell a lie, Rick Petite. Did he have any other songs? 08459 455 555. He must have done. He can't just have had 2 songs. No one's just had 2 songs. Have they? Have they? Well, that would be a waste of such a great talent. 08459 455 555. If you ever look at the front pages of the newspapers. The Guardian, Osborne, we will make work pay. Chancellor defends welfare changes as necessary to fix a broken system. And then there's that quote from Iain Duncan Smith. I could live on £53 a week. OK, I couldn't. And lambs to the slaughter, melting snow reveals frozen carcasses. I don't know why people are being upset that these lambs are found dead, because, hey, you were going to kill them anyway, weren't you? Why were you getting all maudlin about that? The Independent. Welfare reform, the battle begins. Could Iain Duncan Smith survive on £53 a week? He says he could, so it's lucky that he gets to live in his millionaire wife's listed ancestral home rent-free. The Chancellor, George Osborne, will launch a scathing attack today on churches and charities that oppose the government's welfare cuts, hours after his cabinet colleague Iain Duncan Smith claimed he could live on £53 a week in Benefits the Times. There's a picture of Michelle Obama reading a book. I don't quite know why we're looking at that. Michelle Obama reads to children at the 135th White House Easter egg roll. And that's on the front page of a British newspaper or any newspaper in the world for no reason whatsoever. £1 billion plan to put Britain on the road to recovery. And also making press pay law costs a breach of human rights. Proposals to force newspapers to pay all the costs of legal cases, even if they win, would be a breach of human rights. I do like the fact that these newspapers getting very upset that their human rights are being broached. The Times, oh no, not our human rights, yet they've been attacking the Human Rights Bill for the last, I don't know, however long it's been in place. The Daily Express, they are slowly trying to make the Countess of Wessex the new Princess of Diana, after there was a picture of her backside on yesterday. How stylish Sophie became one of the royals' greatest assets. They mean ass. And fish is key to a longer life. Eat it twice a week to cut risk of early death. For goodness sakes, Daily Express, I don't know, why don't you put a news story on the front page? It's just an idea. There's a suggestion from me. I don't work in newspapers, what do I know? But maybe put a news story on the front page. And the Daily Mail, schools expel 15 sex bullies a day. 15 children are expelled from school for sexual misconduct every day. And then they've also got the Iain Duncan Smith. You live on £53 a week then, but they've found the gentleman who challenged IDS to live on £53 a week. He's a gambler and self-confessed ducker and diver. Where did they get this information from? From his description on Twitter. That's where they got it from. His description on Twitter. I think my description on Twitter says I'm an idiot or something. It doesn't necessarily steady, for goodness sakes. What's this? David Bennett, 51. His Twitter account even had the profile poker player, self-employed ducker and diver. Yesterday it was changed to market trader. And The Sun, war vets boycott fascist Di Canio. Angry World War II veterans are boycotting Sunderland games after self-confessed fascist Paolo Di Canio got the manager's job. Is he actually a fascist? I've been following this story very loosely. I know nothing about the gentleman. Is he actually a fascist? When he said he was a fascist, did he mean he was a real fascist in the true sense of the word, in the way that the Nazis were? Or did he just mean, you know, I boss my team around? I don't know. 08459 455 555 6:15. Travel news now. Here's Brooke Burfitt.
Beds, Hearts and Bucks travel.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Thank you very much. It's not looking too bad on the roads this morning. If you're heading onto the M25 anti-clockwise, though, a little further south at junction 15 for the M4, the main carriageway is completely closed for a vehicle fire. Traffic is being diverted onto the M4, and there's some roadworks that might cause problems later over in High Wycombe. New Road has temporary lights up around the electricity work between Ferny Fields and Squirrel Lane. In Denham Avenue has electricity work running around Tilehouse Lane, and the M25 has a speed restriction of 50 miles an hour between junction 23 at South Mims to 25 for Enfield in both directions. That's the latest. Brooke Burfitt, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Brooke, thank you very much. Morning, it's 6:16. It's Tuesday, the 2nd of April. I'm Iain Lee. These are your headlines on BBC Three Counties Radio. A football fan has been stabbed and another taken to hospital after their coach was attacked in Luton. Car park charges at Luton Airport have increased today. The drop-off and pick-up zone is now £2 for a 15-minute wait, whereas before it was just £1 for 10 minutes. In sport, Leeds United manager Neil Warnock has parted company with the Championship club. The weather for Beds, Herts and Bucks, a cold and frosty but bright start. The rest of the day will remain dry and bright with some sunny spells. Maximum temperature is 7 degrees. Coming up, controversial changes to the NHS are now in effect. Private companies will play a much bigger role in delivering care. Before 6:30, we'll find out more about the changes and how they will affect you.
BBC Three Counties Radio. Every weekday morning from 9.
The JVS Show.
With the biggest questions.
Today on the big phone-in, I'm asking, would you support some dog breeds being removed from this country? Should traffic wardens be more lenient? Would the government be right to drop the minimum price for alcohol?
And the biggest opinions.
I think the tax is completely unfair.
It doesn't matter how old they are or how young they are. They're still your children.
It doesn't matter whether it's male or female or what. I'm disgusted with the people. You should have cut them people off.
The JVS Show.
Weekdays from 9.
On BBC Three Counties Radio.
So, to drop off people at Luton Airport, it was £1 for 10 minutes. £1 for 10 minutes. I was so surprised when I found that. Most other airports that I'm aware of are free. Well, it's gone up. And the person who told us was Alan in Harpenden. Morning, Alan.
Morning, Ian.
You're very keen this morning. We got a phone call from you, at about 5:20. Tell us, you spotted this increase in charges. Tell us what happened this morning, Alan.
Well, I was quite surprised. I had to pop along to drop my daughter off, and 5:15 is a good time to get there, I think. And you pull in normally, pay your £1, 10 minutes, and off you go. And there's a sign standing there saying £2. I thought, this is a bit April Fool's, perhaps, is it? But no, it's 100% rise. And I was there 3 days earlier picking her up, and it's 100% rise. So I was able to speak to the chap who was by the barrier, and I said, Is this right? When did this happen? Oh, it happened this morning, he said. He managed to contain his smile, was very pleasant about it, but I've only got £1, I've only driven from Harpenden, I didn't expect to spend £2, so he very kindly raised the barrier and I was on my way. But it left me with a strange feeling, 100% pay rise there.
Well, I can already... I'm sure Luton Airport would say, well, hang on a second, Mr Allen in Harpenden. It's not 100%. You're getting an extra 5 minutes for that second £1. So it was £1 for 10 minutes before. Now it's £2 for 15 minutes, I think.
Well, that's just semantics, isn't it? None of us use 10 minutes in the first place. You turn up, you drop off, and off you go. 2 minutes later, you don't need 15 minutes. You're not as if you're allowed to leave your car alone there. You've still got to remain with it. You do get, I think I'm right in saying, 30 minutes for free in the short-term car park. You do indeed, and I use that. That's very good indeed. But there was no indication whatsoever that there was this 100% rise, and just turn up there. And a lot of people are going to turn up this morning just with £1 in their pocket, and they're going to find themselves in dire straits, I should imagine.
It does. I've always thought the dropping off charges, and listen, I'm not one for knocking Luton Airport. I know other people on the station do. I use Luton Airport a lot, and it's always been very helpful and very good to me. But I do find the paying £1, or paying £2 now, the charging to drop someone off is a very cheeky concept, I think.
I think cheeky is a very good word. It doesn't seem to happen at any other airport. You turn up, drop your people off, smile on the face, everyone's happy. But for people to pay £2 to pick up and £2 to drop off is just, as you say, very cheeky.
Alan, what would your message be to Luton Airport this morning?
Well, I'd reconsider this. I think £1 for 10 minutes was a very good price, very fair price, but £2 is just taking the mick a little bit, I think.
Alan, I appreciate your phone call and for getting in touch with us. We've checked their website. Yes, it is up on their website. They kept it quiet, didn't they? Kept it a little bit quiet. Did you know about this? If you're going to the airport this morning, could you give us a call, or if you've been, 08459 455 555. Keen to know what's happening. Were you made aware of this? How helpful would they be? Also, if you're a taxi driver, were you aware of this? I'm assuming that you'll have to whack that on your fares. If you're going to Luton Airport this morning, either as a passenger, dropping someone off, or a cab driver, or you've been there, 08459 455 555. We'll try and get Luton Airport on the phone. I suspect we won't. They're never very forthcoming with us for some reason. I don't know why.
Why do fools fall in love? Why do birds sing?
morning, Iain Lee, BBC Three Counties Radio here. Lots to talk about. Would love to talk to you this morning if you've been to or you're going to Luton Airport to drop someone off. They've increased the charges. 08459 455 555. You can also go to the Facebook page, facebook.com/BBC3CR. Now, controversial changes to the NHS are now in effect. Private companies will play a much bigger role in delivering care. The government says it will give you, as a patient, more choice. Critics say it amounts to privatisation by the back door. Well, Annette Gamble is the Chief Clinical Officer of Chiltern Clinical Commissioning Group, which serves thousands of people in Buckinghamshire. She joins me now. Good morning, Annette.
Good morning.
How does the group work?
Well, we're a membership group, so the GP practices in our area are members of the organisation. So for Chiltern Clinical Commissioning Group, we have 35 practices, so that's GPs, nurses and other staff in those practices. We also have a core team with managers, and they have skills in commissioning. We work closely with partnership organisations, that's the local authority, public health, hospital doctors, and we will be buying services for our patients and working closely with the public.
What do you mean buying services for the patients? What does that mean?
What commissioning is about paying for the health care in our local area, in our population. So for us in Chiltern, it's South Buckinghamshire, so it's Wickham, South Bucks, and the Chiltern areas. So we have a budget from the Department of Health, so it's an amount allocated to our area, and with that we pay the providers who provide care for our patients and population. So that's urgent care, routine care, district nurses, mental health, maternity, rehabilitation, those sorts of things.
What difference will patients notice?
Patients will over time notice that clinical commissioning groups have made a difference, but it's not going to be from day one. But always remembering that we have, as a group, been working with our PCT and previously as a practice-based commissioning group for a while. So there have already been some changes, and those are about care that is delivered in the community, more close to patients' homes. It's about improving the quality and the patients being able to talk to GPs who are involved in this commissioning, so they will see that they are able to be involved much more in the care that is bought and delivered. We have area localities, and we've had some local public forums, and we will have more of those. So we would encourage our local population to get involved with those, because they are our eyes and ears on the ground, if you like. They can talk to our GPs, talk to us, we will be much more visible, and they can get involved in those local area groups and indeed in their own general practice patient participation groups.
If you're not happy with a particular service, will you get more of a say?
Absolutely. That is the whole one of the main purposes of this change that's going on in the NHS, so that the delivery and the buying and the organisation of the NHS has much more of a say locally, from our local population, from patients, service users.
Annette, do people want more of a say? Because I don't think I necessarily want a say. I just want to, rock up to the doctors, get seen, and go home. Do people want a say?
People do want to say, but you're absolutely right. What people really want is services that work really well, that are improved in terms of the care they give, the speed they give it with, that they're safe and quality is high. And when they go, they want to know there's more joined-up care, that their GP surgeries work well, their hospitals work well, social care when they need it works well. When those services aren't delivering all that they should, then patients and public do want a voice. They do want to know who to speak to make those changes, so that those services work better for the future.
And do you think enough has been done, Annette, to inform people about the changes that are happening?
I think the changes are quite complex. A lot has been done, but it's going to be one of our jobs as the local commissioning organisation to let people know what those changes mean, what services are available to them, how to have their say. And that will be one of our big priorities over the initial days, and continuing to be very, very visible and transparent, and to let patients and public know how they can get involved, how they can have their say, and what the changes mean for them.
Annette, thank you very much indeed. That's Annette Gamble, who is the Chief Clinical Officer of Chiltern Clinical Commissioning Group. You try saying that at 28 minutes past 6 in the morning. 08459 455 555. Right. Let's get the latest travel. Brooke Burfitt.
Beds, Hearts and Bucks travel.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Thank you very much. Well, I've got the latest update on the accident on the M25. The clockwise carriageway is now open, but anti-clockwise is closed at junction 15 for the M4 because of a vehicle fire. Traffic is being diverted onto the M4. It's causing really long queues. There's congestion back on my cameras to junction 16 for the M40. And over in High Wycombe New Road, that has temporary lights up around the electricity work between Ferny Fields and Squirrel Lane. That might cause delays later. Having a look at the trains, London Midland are running a replacement bus service this morning between Watford Junction and St Albans Abbey because of a staff shortage. Brooke Burfitt, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Brooke, thank you very much. It's 6:30, time for the news and sport now. Here's Serena Farrow.
Getting beds, hearts and bugs talking.
This is BBC Three Counties Radio.
Good morning. A football fan's been stabbed and another taken to hospital after their coach was attacked in Luton yesterday. Car park charges at Luton Airport have increased today. Elsewhere, the Chancellor will set out a vigorous defence of the government's tax and welfare reforms, declaring that they'll make work pay. And parents angry at Luton Borough Council for taking away school transport for their children have had an e-petition with more than 1,000 names rejected by the local authority. That's all the news. Now let's take a look at all the morning's sport.
Beds, Hearts and Bucks Sport.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
So MK Dons entertained Brentford in League 1 and beat them 2-0 yesterday. That boosts the Dons to 10th position and still keeps their playoff hopes alive. Meanwhile, Graham Wesley took charge of his first match since his return to Stevenage. His side played Hartlepool. They're now 15th after a 1-0 victory. Max Emmett bagging the winning goal. Luton, though, lost to conference leaders Kidderminster Harriers 2-1. And in Championship news, Leeds United manager Neil Warnock's parted company with the Championship club. Warnock left his job around 2 hours after the Leeds 2-1 defeat by Derby on Monday. And at the KC Stadium tonight, second-placed Hull play third-place Watford. A win for Gianfranco Zola's side would move them to within a point of Hull. BBC Three Counties Radio. There'll be more from me at 7.
This is Iain Lee on BBC Three Counties Radio.
Morning, 6:31. My computer just beeps. That's always a worrying sign that it's about to break down. Give our fingers crossed. We'll get some sellotape and some chewing gum, and hopefully we'll make it till 9 o'clock. Then it's Jonathan Vernon Smith's problem. He can deal with it. Coming up between now and 7, solicitors have warned that people could start taking the law into their own hands as changes to legal aid come into force. We'll be looking at what the changes are and how you could be affected. One of the astounding things I was shocked to find out is that up until now, people could get legal aid for divorces. Huh? Really? What? Hang on a minute. That's your fault. That's your fault. Well, that's been stopped. We'll find out more. 08459 455 555. I am going through a huge mamas and papas thing at the moment. Loving them.
All the leaves are brown, and the sky is grey. Passed along the way. Well, I got down on my knees, and I pretend to pray. You know the preacher like to call,
the chorus comes in, do you sing along with the mummers or the puppers? I sing with the mummers. Don't judge me for that. Sing the mummer's part on California Dreamin', and then on Monday I flick back and forth like a confused teenager. I do. I'm all over them. I'm all over the mummers. I'm all over the puppers. I'm going through a huge mummers and puppers thing at the moment, reading a brilliant book about Mama Cass. I've got Papa John's book, and I've just ordered another book about the mummers and puppers. I know. They only did 4 albums, I think. Now, legal aid is being scrapped for certain disputes. Now, it's not possible to get free legal advice to deal with some divorce battles and personal injury cases, amongst other civil cases. The government are making the cutbacks in an effort to cut the £2 billion annual bill. Solicitors have warned that people could start taking the law into their own hands. Well, Christina Blacklaws is Director of Policy at the Cooperative Legal Services. Morning, Christina.
Good morning, Ian.
Firstly, remind me, what is legal aid and who should get it? Who could get it in the past?
Well, up until today, most people who were financially eligible could get legal aid for really any dispute in England and Wales. So any type of law, and what we're particularly concerned about is family issues. So divorce and family matters. So if you were financially eligible, you could get help if you needed a divorce or, for example, financial or children's cases. And we estimate that about 200,000 people each year now won't get that sort of help and support, which is a real concern.
I was surprised, Christina, that people got legal aid for divorce anyway. There will be some people arguing, well, why should I contribute towards someone's divorce? That's their problem. It's not a serious issue. What would you say to them?
Well, I think if it's you, then it probably is a serious issue.
Yes.
For example, if you're a dad and you can't see your children, there's no good reason for that, and you've been made redundant, you've fallen on hard times, then it's the most important thing to you in the world to be able to see your children. And it's important for society as well that we can help and support families to remain together. It's in children's best interest, in most cases, to have contact with both of their parents. And if they don't, there can be real consequences for society as a result.
Other than divorce and personal injury, which cases no longer qualify?
It's probably easier, Ian, to say the ones that are left in, actually. Most civil legal matters have been taken out from legal aid from today. So, as I say, all divorce and family matters, the vast majority of them, employment, welfare benefits, debt, most of housing, education, the list goes on.
This will, I would imagine, put legal help out of the financial reach of some people. What impact will these changes have on lower income individuals?
Well, I'm afraid a huge impact. But of course, we must remember that actually most working people in this country don't think that they can afford legal services in any event. And so we are, at the moment, we're calling upon all providers of legal services to join us in stopping the clock, in offering the public fixed fee, fixed cost legal services so that the public knows exactly what they're getting, what they're paying for that, and then they can be in the control, they can be in the driving seat, they can make the decisions.
But will solicitors want to be part of that? Because they're there to make money, of course, which is absolutely fine. Why would they limit the amount of money they can make?
because it's in the public interest to do so, and because organisations like ours are calling for it and are delivering it. So if we change the way that legal services are delivered in this country, then other people will follow us.
To what extent will people start taking the law into their own hands?
This is a real worry, Iain, because if people can't access justice, if they are too worried, intimidated and frightened by the costs of going to see a lawyer, then they may well take the law into their own hands. The alternative is that they pitch up at court and have to represent themselves, and that's a very unattractive proposition. So that's why we're offering reasonably costed fixed fees for everybody.
Christina, thank you very much indeed. That's Christina Blacklaws, Director of Policy at the Cooperative Legal Services. Well, we contacted the Ministry of Justice, but they didn't have anyone available to talk to us. Justice Minister Lord McNally sent us this statement. We need to make sure taxpayers' money is not spent resolving too many disputes in court when there are quicker, cheaper and less stressful options available. At £2 billion a year, we have one of the most expensive legal aid systems in the world, and it's now costing taxpayers too much at a time when resources are not limitless. We had to make some difficult decisions, and it was not a process we embarked on lightly, but we have safeguarded legal aid to ensure lawyers are there for those who really need them. If you've used legal aid, I'm very lucky. My dealings with solicitors have, for the most part, been faintly pleasurable. There have been a few occasions when it's been dirty work, but generally it's been all right. I've not required the legal aid. If you've had legal aid for a divorce or a housing issue or a family dispute or something like that, how helpful was it? Would you have been able to proceed with that case if you couldn't get legal aid? 08459 455 555. Facebook.com/BBC3CR. Let's have a little bit of Cat Stevens, shall we? We don't hear this one very often. I don't think this sits with his current views on life.
Another Saturday night and I ain't got nobody. I got some money 'cause I just got paid. Now how I wish I had someone to talk to. I'm in an awful way. I got in town a month ago. I've seen a lot of girls since then. If I can meet them, I can get them. But as yet I haven't met them. That's how I'm in the state I'm in. Oh, another Saturday night and I ain't got nobody. I got some money 'cause I just got paid. But how I wish I had someone to talk to. I'm in an awful way. Another fella told me he had a sister who looked just fine. Instead of being my deliverance, she had a strange resemblance to a cat named Frankenstein. Ooh la, another Saturday night and I ain't got nobody. I got some money 'cause I just got paid. Now how I wish I had someone to talk to. I'm in an awful way.
I do like that song. I don't think it necessarily sits in with his current beliefs in Islam, but it's still a cracking good song, so well done, Cat Stevens. There's a story that's in some of the papers today, which we kind of touched on this yesterday. If you listen to yesterday's award-winning show, there was the whole discussion about is it okay to call women love? And I think we agreed that, yes, as long as it's me that's doing it, it's fine. I think that's what we reached. Well, there's a story. This is from the Mail. It's in some of the other papers. First name terms, no, Mr. and Mrs. to you. Answering the phone halfway through dinner to a cold caller trying to sell you things you'll never want or need is bad enough. But what's worse is when they use your first name to do it. I hate that. They use your... Also, they don't... Lee is not the surname I was born with. I know, shock horror. I changed it by deed poll. My real name? It's Rugby. I know, it's changed, and I didn't use it for various reasons. One of the reasons was no one can read it or pronounce it properly. So I know if I get a phone call at about 7:30 in the evening from someone asking for Mr. Rugi or Mr. Rugi, or I know it's some idiot trying to sell me some stuff. The story goes on. It's not just strangers on the other end of a phone line that are a pain. Many are fed up with over-friendliness from a wide array of strangers, from coffee shop staff to bank workers. 2/3 of us hate it when we are addressed by our first name or start conversations with hi. I hate that in shops. If you're in like a shop... Hi, mate, can I help you? Whoa! Hi, mate? No. First of all, I don't really want you to come and talk to me. If you do come and talk to me, it's, excuse me, sir. Hi, mate, you all right? Hi, mate, you all right? Excuse me, sir, can I help you? I'd rather you didn't approach me, shop workers, to be honest. I'll come up to you when I'm ready. I normally walk out. If someone comes up to me in the shop, hi, mate, you all right? I go, yeah, I'm fine, and walk out. And also, they do this thing in Starbucks, don't they? And it is only Starbucks. You order a coffee. I want a coffee. Yeah, what's your name? What's your name? Why? I'm going to write it on your cup. No, you're not. Why are you going to write... My Starbucks name is Steve. I know, it is. It's my Starbucks name is Steve. What's your name? Steve? What are you going to do about it? I've done Dick. I've been Dick. I've done that. Of course I have. Dick? Is there a Dick here? Yeah, that's me. But I do hate that over-friendliness. Can we bring back some kind of formality? Can we have Mr. and Mrs. and Sir and Madam? Can we try and do that for the rest of the show? It's a bit of formality. Later on in the show, we'll be speaking to Mr. Justin Dealey. 08459 455 555. You can tell I'm getting old. It's these little things that annoy the hell out of me. For the rest of the show, let's try and have a bit of formality. I'll be Mr. Lee to you. When you call up, you'll address me as such. Thank you. Right, let's get the travel now with Miss Perfect.
Beds, Hearts and Bucks travel.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Thank you kindly, sir. The queues are looking bad this morning on the M25 anti-clockwise, with congestion starting from junction 16 for the M40 going all the way to junction 15 for the M4. The anti-clockwise carriageway is closed for a vehicle fire. Traffic is being diverted onto the M4. Recovery work is underway, I'm told, so hopefully that will be cleared up shortly. In Denham Avenue, that has electricity work running around Tilehouse Lane. That might cause delays later, as may the gas main works in Wealdstone on the High Road at Risinghome Road. And finally, with the trains, London Midland have a replacement bus service between Watford Junction and St Albans Abbey because of a staff shortage. Brooke Burfitt, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Thank you very much. Morning, it's 6:46. It's Tuesday, the 2nd of April. I'm Mr. Lee, and these are your headlines on BBC Three Counties Radio. A football fan has been stabbed and another taken to hospital after their coach was attacked in Luton. Parking at Luton's airport drop-off zone is now more expensive as charges have increased. In sport, MK Dons have kept their playoff hopes alive after beating Brentford 2-0 yesterday. Coming up, the new Director General at the BBC starts his job today. Before 7, we'll hear more about the man taking over. But before that, let's get the latest weather with Ms. Lewington.
Beds, Hearts and Bucks weather.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Good morning, Mr. Lee. Well, a cold but frosty start to the day, and throughout the day, well, there is going to be plenty of sunshine around, but those temperatures still not up to much. A northeasterly wind making it feel even colder than that high of just 7 degrees. Now, come tonight, there will be an increase in cloud cover, but that's not doing much to help the temperatures. They're dropping as low as -1. And as the cloud builds up throughout tomorrow, we could see that cloud translate into a little bit of wet weather. And in fact, with temperatures that low, we could be talking about sleet or snow. Tomorrow's high just 7 degrees Celsius, but over the coming days, a change in wind direction bringing in some milder air. By the beginning of next week, temperatures should be picking up, but there is likely to be a bit of unsettled weather before it truly feels like springtime.
Thank you very much. You see? Just manners, that's all it takes. Tonight, Three Counties Sport concentrates on the top of the championship.
There's a decent effort, they've hit the crossbar and it's gone in!
We're live from the KC Stadium in Hull as Watford hope to continue their assault on automatic promotion.
Deeney inside the box, can he cut it back for Fincher? Here is Martin Fincher, who scores and puts Watford ahead!
You can hear the whole game live on FM, AM, online and digital radio.
And Deeney has scored!
Three Counties Sport, tonight from 7 on BBC Three Counties Radio. In another life on another radio station, I once said I don't like reggae and I don't like Bob Marley. I then had a load of phone calls from people calling me a racist. Because I don't like a genre of music? I don't think so.
Well, all right, we're jamming. I wanna jam it with you. We're jamming, jamming, and I hope you like jamming too. And the rules ain't no vow. We can do it anyhow. I and I will see you through. 'Cause every day we pay the price. We're the living sacrifice. Jamming till the jam is through. We're jamming. To think that jamming was a thing of the past. We're jamming. And I hope this jam is gonna last. No bullet can stop us now. We need to beg, no, we won't bow. Neither can be bought nor sold. We all defend the right. Judge, our children must unite. Oh, life is worth much more than gold. We're jamming, 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 and we're jamming in the name of the Lord. We're jamming, 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 jamming. We're jamming right straight from your sing. Holy Mount Zion, Holy Mount Zion, just seated in Mount Zion, and rules all creation. Here we're jamming. Pop Chihuahua war, we're jamming. See, I wanna jam it with you. We're jamming, 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 jamming. And jam down, hope you're jamming too. Jano's a massive try. The truth again is high to keep you satisfied. True love I know exists is the love I can't resist. So jam by my side. We're jamming, 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 jamming. I wanna jam it with you. We're jamming, 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 we're jamming. Hope you like jamming too. We're jamming, we're jamming, jamming, we're jamming, we're jamming, jamming. I wanna jam with you now. We're jamming, we're jamming. Hope you like jamming too. And I hope you like jamming. I hope you like jamming. 'Cause I wanna jam it with you. I wanna jam it with you. I hope you like jamming too.
Imagine if that was like your couple's song. Be a bit... You want something a bit more uplifting than that. I can't imagine any couples would have Bob Marley jamming as their song. It seems an odd choice, but there you go. Some people are strange. Hey, new signs in Milton Keynes, kids. We've been updated. New signs welcoming you to Milton Keynes. I've got a picture of one of them here in front of me. Welcome to Milton Keynes with the lovely MK logo. Blue M, green K. How much do these signs cost and how many are there? You do wonder. Surely there are more important things to invest in. And are they going to attract people to Milton? Oh, there's new signs at Milton Keynes. We should go down there. Oh, no, everything inside is pretty much the same as it was, but they've got new signs. Let's go and have a cheeky look at that, shall we? Right, the new Director General of the BBC starts his new job today. Tony Hall takes over following the Jimmy Savile sex abuse scandal, which led to the resignation of his predecessor, George Entwistle. So, what are the main challenges for the new man at the top? My boss. Well, Charlie Beckett is a former BBC producer and a former editor at ITN.
The money's been cut and there isn't going to be much more in the future, but I think it's bigger than that, actually. I think it's about when you think about what's happened over the Jimmy Savile scandal, and that kind of loss of confidence, perhaps, in the BBC, but also about the future of the BBC with the charter renewal coming up, I think it's a time when the BBC really has to stand up and explain to us what it's about and why we should support it.
Lord Hall is joining from the Royal Opera House, where he's been in charge for the past 12 years. Before that, he spent nearly 3 decades at the BBC as a journalist, editor and senior manager. The media commentator Paul Connew says his knowledge of BBC News should help him to get to grips with the department whose failings helped bring down his predecessor.
One thing he doesn't need to address, though, is appointing a director of news, and I think rumours are that it could well be James Harding, the former editor of The Times, which would be an interesting appointment. But I think someone to head up the news division is obviously crucial, both in terms of restoring morale, and of course that was the area in which so much went wrong.
It's understood Lord Hall will be updated on the ongoing review into Jimmy Savile's time at the BBC and the separate investigation into allegations of bullying and sexual harassment at the corporation. He's also expected to meet union leaders amid threats of further strike action over job cuts. Jean Seaton is a professor of media history at Westminster University. She says he's got a big job to do.
He's got to remoralise the BBC, I think. Cheer people up, but bash some heads together. And that might be quite painful. At the same time as not covering up anything that's gone in the past. But he's a big man. I feel relatively optimistic about that.
I don't want my head bashed together. The new Director General takes over at a tough time for the BBC. He knows a lot of work needs to be done to restore public trust.
You never close your eyes anymore when I kiss your lips. There's no tenderness like before in your fingertips. You're trying hard not to show it, but baby, I know it. You lost that love and feeling. Oh, that love and feeling. You lost that love and feeling. Now it's gone, gone, gone. Now there's no welcome look in your eyes when I reach for you. Though you're starting to criticize little things I do, it makes me just feel like crying. 'Cause baby, something beautiful about it. You lost that love and feeling. Oh, that love and feeling. You lost that love and feeling. Now it's gone, gone, gone. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Baby, baby, I'd get down on my knees for you. If you would only love me like you used to do, yeah. We had a love you don't find every day. So don't let it slip away. can't go on. Bring back that love and feeling. Oh, that love and feeling.
The Righteous Brothers, they really do give it everything. Singers these days, they don't give it everything, do they? You can hear those men virtually, I need to say something very vulgar there. But, you're really putting everything into that song. And pop stars these days, they're just a little bit lazy in comparison to the Righteous Brothers. Here's the travel news. Brooke Burfitt.
Beds, hearts and bucks travel.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Thank you. Well, traffic is picking up across the three counties, particularly on the motorways. The M25 has patchy delays anti-clockwise. On my speed sensors, traffic is slow at junction 25 for Enfield. Further round at junction 20 for Kings Langley, that's also heavy there too. Once past that, the anti-clockwise carriageway is completely closed at junction 15 for the M4 because of investigation work to an accident earlier. Traffic is queuing back from junction 16 for the M40. It'll take about half an hour to get through the queues and onto the diversion, which is the M4. And a quick look at public transport this morning. London Midland are running a replacement bus service between Watford Junction and St Albans Abbey because of staff shortage. Brooke Burfitt, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Thank you, Brooke. Coming up in the next hour of the show, dropping passengers off at Luton Airport cost you £1. Well, it didn't up until today. Now it's £2. 08459 455 555. Here's Serena.
Getting beds, hearts and bucks talking.
This is BBC Three Counties Radio.
Good morning, the headlines. Football fans' bus attacked in Luton. Parking charges go up Luton's at airport and MK Dons keep their playoff hopes alive.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
A football fan has been stabbed and another taken to hospital after their coach was attacked in Luton. It happened yesterday in Dunstable Road near the Mansfield Road junction following the game with Kidderminster Harriers in which the Hatters lost 2-1. Bedfordshire police say an argument broke out between local residents and it doesn't appear to have any connection to the football club. 4 local men have since been arrested. Car park charges at Luton Airport have increased today. The drop-off and pick-up zone is now £2 for a 15-minute wait, whereas before it was £1 for 10 minutes. Alan Bostock discovered the price rise as he dropped off his daughter this morning.
None of us use 10 minutes in the first place. You turn up, you drop off, and off you go. 2 minutes later, you don't need 15 minutes. You're not as if you're allowed to leave your car alone there. You've still got to remain with it. It doesn't seem to happen at any other airport. But for people to pay £2 to pick up and £2 to drop off is just very cheeky.
Next, and the Chancellor will hit back today at criticism of the government's changes to welfare from political opponents, church leaders and charities. Labour sees them as an attack on the poor, but George Osborne will say that such comments are predictable and that the old system trapped people in poverty while penalising work. Meanwhile, there's been a controversial shake-up in the way the NHS is organised. Clinical commissioning groups led by GPs have taken charge of a large portion of the NHS budget. They'll now decide how to spend funds on local services from hospitals to community-based clinics. People we spoke to in the three counties seem to be unaware, though, of the changes, including Alina from Luton.
I'm not too sure about what changes are taking place. I suffer from a long-term illness, so I'm constantly within the GP surgery and hospital, but yet I'm not aware of the changes which are taking place within the NHS.
Well, stay listening as GP Nazrin Razak and Clinical Director for Primary Care for Luton CCG will be speaking to Iain in the next half an hour here on BBC Three Counties Radio. Bedfordshire Police is launching a campaign slogan on buses, "You lock up, we'll lock 'em up," as it aims to maintain a current downward trend in burglary. With recent crime figures for the county suggesting an 18% drop, the force wants everyone to ensure their possessions are kept safe as the evenings grow lighter. And the new Director General of the BBC, Tony Hall, is taking up his job today following the resignation of his predecessor, George Entwistle, in the wake of the Jimmy Savile sex abuse scandal. Lord Hall has been Chief Executive of the Royal Opera House for the past 12 years. Sport then, MK Dons have kept their playoff hopes alive after beating Brentford 2-0 yesterday. Meanwhile, Stevenage beat Hartlepool 1-0, Max Emma bagging the winning goal. Weather then cold and frosty to start with, but then mainly dry and bright, temperatures reaching 7 degrees Celsius, 45 in Fahrenheit. There's more news and sport online at bbc.co.uk/3 counties. BBC Three Counties Radio, first for news.
This is Iain Lee. BBC Three Counties Radio, 3 minutes past 7. It's the 2nd of April, and it's flipping cold. Anyone else confused by the bright evening last night? We haven't got curtains in our house. I know, we've been there, 6 weeks, and we still haven't got round to getting curtains. Darn it, it's too late now. My 3-year-old boy was up for ages. Daddy, it's not night time. Why are we going to bed? It is. Can we stay up and watch the sky turn dark? No! Fall asleep, boy, for goodness sakes. Where's the Calpol? Lots coming up between now. I'm joking, by the way. Although, this is something for another day. I have got friends who, when they're taking their kids on long flights, give them Calpol to make them sleep. I know, isn't it weird? It makes them really drowsy. And they give it to them to make them sleep. And think there's nothing wrong with it. Oh, I think there is. Maybe we'll talk about that another day. Coming up between now and 8 o'clock, a football fan has been stabbed after two football fans, I think, have been stabbed after their coach was attacked in Luton yesterday. Our reporter Justin Dealey is at Dunstable Road near the Mansfield Road junction and can tell us exactly what happened. Now, you know, if you dropped passengers off at Luton Airport, it was £1 for 10 minutes. I thought that was a rip-off. Well, guess what? From today, they've doubled the charge, although you get an extra 5 minutes. Alan in Harpenden told us about it. He doesn't think it's been publicised enough. Do you think it's worth the extra money or just a complete rip-off? I don't think any other airport's charged to drop passengers off. And solicitors have been warned people could start taking the law into their own hands as changes to legal aid come into force. We'll be looking at what the changes are and how you could be affected. Lots of ways to get in touch. You can go to facebook.com/BBC3CR or, look, all of the phone lines are free. Why don't you give me a phone call? 08459 455 555.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
A football fan has been stabbed and another taken to hospital after their coach was attacked in Luton. It happened yesterday in Dunstable Road near the Mansfield Road junction. Well, Justin Dealey, whereabouts are you, Justin?
Just outside Luton Town's ground at the moment, which is about a mile away from where this incident happened yesterday afternoon.
And what happened? What do we know?
Well, the two men were among 5 busloads of supporters who had travelled to support Kidderminster Harriers against Luton Town Football Club yesterday afternoon. Bedfordshire police said that as the coaches queued in the traffic around a mile away from the stadium, an argument broke out between local residents and Kidderminster supporters in the rear coach. And again, a lot of speculation yesterday. Were these Luton supporters? The police have confirmed in their statement that this had nothing to do with Luton Town supporters.
When did it happen?
Well, it happened after the game yesterday as the vehicles were leaving Luton on the return journey they were heading off down Dunstable Road to junction 11 of the motorway. A police spokesman said it led to the coach being attacked. Then some of the supporters got off to remonstrate and then a fight ensued. 2 Kidderminster fans are being treated in hospital. They are for non-life-threatening injuries, although one fan was stabbed twice.
Has anyone been arrested yet, Justin?
Yes, 4 local men have been arrested and the police are investigating the violence which broke out in Dunstable Road, which is near the Mansfield Road junction. Police said the attackers, and again to quote here, did not appear to have any connection to Luton Town Football Club. Kidderminster, they won the game 2-1, which has left them top of the table.
What's the area like this morning? Any police presence?
Well, we certainly heard that a police presence was there late into the night yesterday. Driving up there this morning, that police presence has now gone. It's very, very quiet in the area this morning. Just gone 7 o'clock, of course. Some of the local shops aren't even open, but certainly that police presence which was there yesterday, and again speaking to local people, that they saw that police presence, that has now gone.
What have people been saying about this?
Well, most people I've spoken to this morning wondered what did go on yesterday, because a number of people were driving in the area last night. They saw the cordons, that they certainly saw the police. They wondered what had gone on. I told them what had gone on. They were shocked by that, but most people that I've spoken to certainly didn't know what had happened yesterday afternoon and certainly didn't see anything which happened yesterday afternoon.
And are there many people up and about in the the area this morning? It's 7:07, for goodness sakes.
It's very, very quiet in the morning. There are quite a few shops in the local area. There's a Tesco Express very near to Mansfield Road again. Even in there, it's very, very quiet. A number of the local shops haven't quite opened yet. So clearly, when those shops do open, we shall ask a few questions, but certainly concerning whether this is related to football or not. 2 people in hospital, one of them stabbed twice, and certainly not great again for Luton, is it?
Lots of speculation on social media as well, wasn't there? As there always is.
Yeah, and you're always going to get this, and there was so much speculation last night. At this moment in time, I believe it's the most read article on the BBC News Online, but lots of speculation over who did this. Was it Luton Town supporters? And then, of course, the police statement comes out last night saying that they believe, and again, they believe this attack has got nothing to do with Luton supporters. But certainly if you were on Twitter, if you're on Facebook, a lot of people were talking about this last night, and I'm sure that as the day goes on today, again, we shall hear some more of the facts of what actually happened there.
Justin, thank you very much.
Across beds, hearts and bucks, this is Iain Lee on BBC Three Counties Radio.
Lots of people on the internet assuming we would jump to the conclusion it was football fans cause havoc, and we've not even hinted that in the slightest. In fact, it would appear that it's the complete opposite. Now, if you drop passengers off at Luton Airport at the short-term car park, it would cost you... It's £1 for 10 minutes. I think it's an outrageous charge. But there you go. Well, it was £1 until today, because from today it's now £2 for 15 minutes. It was first brought to our attention by Alan in Harpenden. He noticed the extra charge when he was at the airport this morning and gave us a call.
Well, I was quite surprised. I had to pop along to drop my daughter off, and 5:15 a good time to get there, I think. And you pull in normally, pay your £1, 10 minutes and off you go, and there's a sign standing there saying £2. I thought, this is a bit April Fool's perhaps, is it? But no, it's 100% rise, and I was there 3 days earlier picking her up, and it's 100% rise. So I was able to speak to the chap who was by the barrier, and I said, is this right? When did this happen? Oh, it happened this morning, he said. He managed to contain his smile, was very pleasant about it, but I've only got £1, I've only driven from Harpenden, I didn't expect to spend £2, so he very kindly raised the barrier and I was on my way. But it left me with a strange feeling, 100% pay rise there.
Well, we can talk now to Tony Dixon, editor of Airliner World magazine. Morning, Tony.
Good morning, Ian.
Tony, is this fair?
It's probably just to ease congestion around the front of the terminal. I mean, yes, you have to pay, you have to go under the tunnel, up round the roundabout, and there's not a lot of space. But if you just come back 300 yards and go into the mid-term car park, there's a free bus to the terminal, and it's free for half an hour. And I think it's just a move by the airport authorities to move traffic away from that inside area where that little roundabout is.
You don't think it's a money-making scheme? Because Luton Airport have been accused in the past of charging for pretty much everything they can.
No, I think it's a congestion easing scheme. And yes, people will have to pay money, but the option, as I say, just go into the mid-term car park, drop off, you've got half an hour free, and I mean, it's possibly that people drop off or pick up and stretch their 10 or 15 minutes, and there's just too many cars doing it.
The thing is, though, if you've got big suitcases and all kinds of bits and pieces that people take on holiday, you don't want to get a bus to the airport when most other airports, I'm thinking specifically of Heathrow and Gatwick, you can drop off. I mean, there are wardens there kind of hurrying you on. You're not allowed to loiter, but you can drop off right near the front, can't you?
And look how much congestion there is in the middle of Heathrow and Gatwick.
It's not that bad at Heathrow. I drop off regularly at Heathrow, and it's workable, completely workable.
Well, yes, but as I say, it's simply to ease congestion. Heathrow, there's a lot more space than there is at Luton. I mean, Luton, the terminal area was designed for when Luton was a small airport back in the 60s and 70s. It's a lot bigger now. And obviously, I mean, it can't be a money-making because they don't make that much money.
How much do they make?
Oh, I don't know. On parking,
well, then you don't know. We can't say it's not money-making if we haven't got the figures. Are there any other airports in Britain, Tony, that charge to drop off and pick up passengers?
Yes, there are some. And
which ones?
I'm pretty sure Manchester does at one place, right, where you can go in and just, if you want to wait a little bit. I mean, there's a great scheme that they have in America, which is a cell phone waiting area, where if you're picking somebody up, It's about a mile away from the terminal, and you can park there for nothing.
Yeah.
And when the person is actually stood on the outside the terminal, you go and pick them up. He phones you up, and it's purely a congestion easing measure.
There will be people, though, Tony, who aren't convinced that this is congestion. Why have they increased the charge?
I suspect purely because there were too many cars and in the area and blocking it. There's a lot more buses there now. I mean, they have buses in from all the exterior car parks, and if they get stuck and there's too many cars just trying to drop people off, perhaps without paying the money and just getting in, finding some little nook and cranny to throw somebody off or whatever. And I suspect it's passengers that have caused the airport to make the decision. It's not...
Hang on a minute, Tony, you can't blame the passengers. That's what the whole airport thrives on and works on, is the passengers.
Well, no, it's the people taking them and picking them up. Birmingham certainly have a drop-off scheme right next to it, but you can go into the mid-term car park and simply get on a bus that's every 10 minutes. I can't see the problem with it. If the guy doesn't want to pay the £1, he doesn't have to. He just goes to the mid-term car park and they get the bus for free.
Tony, thanks very much for coming on. Tony Dixon, editor of Airliner World magazine. He has got a point. You can pop to the mid-term car park. 30 minutes free, get the bus. It does seem a little bit cheeky, though, doesn't it? And Tony mentioned the Heathrow drop-off and pick-up. It is bigger, of course it is, but there's not congestion. It works absolutely fine. You've got a couple of wardens walking around. If you wait there too long... Sorry, mate, move on. Jog on. Jog on, fella. And that's fine, and it works. I've never had a problem dropping off there. It does seem a little bit cheeky. And I'm not one of those presenters. There are presenters here at BBC Three Counties who like to knock Luton Airport. I'm not one of them. I think it's a cracking airport. I love it. Go there quite a lot. I'm saying this partly because I do go there quite a lot and I don't want to get chucked out. But I do. I enjoy Luton Airport. It serves its purpose and it works for me. But I do think it's a little bit cheeky. Or maybe I'm being oversensitive on this. What do you think? 08459 455 555 is the telephone number. Is this charge £2, 15 minutes drop off and pick up? Is it fair? Is it just there to ease congestion? Tony there saying he doesn't think it's a money-making scheme. I'd love to know how much money they make from it. They must make quite a few quid from it. They must do. 08459 455 555. 7:15. Travel news now, Brooke Burfitt.
Beds, Hearts and Bucks travel.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
It's already really busy on the roads this morning, starting with the M1 into London. Traffic's very slow between Luton Airport Spur Road to Junction 9 for Redbourne. The A1M towards London, that has a breakdown on the exit slip road at Junction 3 for St Albans. One lane is closed. Further south on the A1 Watford Way, there's a queue on my cameras from Apex Corner all the way to Mill Hill Circus. And the queues on the M25 anti-clockwise have worsened, I'm afraid. There's a solid queue from Junction 16 for the M40 all the way to the complete closure of the carriageway at Junction 15 for the M4. That's for investigation work, and that'll take nearly an hour, about 50 minutes to get through the queues onto the diversion, which is the M4. And with the trains, Chiltern Railway are now reporting 15-minute delays between Banbury into Marylebone in London because of a broken down train. Brooke Burfitt, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Brooke, thank you very much. Morning, it's 7:16. It's Tuesday, the 2nd of April. I'm Iain Lee, and these are your headlines on BBC Three Counties Radio. 2 Kidderminster fans are being treated in hospital after their coach was attacked in Luton. Parking charges at Luton Airport's drop-off zone increases by 100%. And in sport, MK Dons have kept their playoff hopes alive after beating Brentford 2-0 yesterday. The weather for Beds, Hearts and Bucks, a cold and frosty but bright start. The rest of the day will remain dry and bright with some sunny spells. Maximum temperature is 7 degrees. Coming up from this week, clinical commissioning groups are being put in charge of a large chunk of the NHS budget. Before 7:30, we'll find out how the changes could affect you.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Every weekday from 3, Roberto Perrone with the best local news stories.
There's a sporting story emerging. Paul Buckle has left Luton Town Football Club by mutual consent.
The owners of the Centre MK have withdrawn a part of an application regarding the Primark development.
Local talking points.
The Hertfordshire Police and Crime Commissioner, Mr David Lloyd, has a plan to get sponsorship for police cars.
The best local travel.
There's been another day of disruption on the Thameslink line today.
We were allowed evacuating from
the train and we had to go back to Ratchet, and now we're waiting for the bus.
Roberto Perrone, every weekday from 3 on BBC Three Counties Radio.
So, it was £1 for 10 minutes to drop off and pick up at Luton Airport. It's now £2 for 15 minutes. 08459 455 555. What do you make of that? Ray's in Milton Keynes. Morning, Ray.
What's up?
Ray, you're good morning, Mr. Ray in Milton Keynes. You're a taxi driver. What do you think about this increase in charges?
Well, we've had a bad deal with Luton Airport for years now. I will just tell you though that Stansted, for instance, they raised their price from £1 to £2 late last year. So when you go in, it is £2 now instead of £1.
Okay, I was unaware of that. Thank you for that.
Birmingham Airport is £1 and has been £1. I think they were one of the first ones to put the barriers up. So as you go in, you've got to do that. So it raises. It's only £1. We know that, but you get people stopping at roundabouts, like for instance Luton Airport. Those who don't know, if you try and skip the car park and jump out at any stage from where the hotels are roundabout, right up to the mini roundabout the chap was talking about earlier, you will get done.
They've got cameras, haven't they?
There are cameras everywhere. Lots of our drivers. Oh, quick, drop me off here. People jump out. Poor driver can't do a thing about it. They jump out. They get done. The driver gets done, not the people jumping out.
And is that unique to Luton Airport?
Not really, because some of our drivers have been done at Heathrow for dropping off at odd places.
Right.
But Heathrow, really, for the busy, that chap said, really, it is busy, but everything is smooth, it's arranged, everybody knows what they're doing, by and large.
It works, and admittedly the drop-off is larger at Heathrow, but it does work. I've always been able to pull over. There's always been at least 2 traffic wardens coming along and just keeping an eye on things and moving people along, and it works.
Yeah, I mean, Terminal 3 is probably the worst, because lots of people either don't know or they're ignorant of the facts. You only can drop off. Loads of people are standing there with their suitcases waiting to be picked up, and of course it's a magnet for the traffic wardens. As soon as you arrive to pick up, you get told to move on. I mean, it's quite simple. Gatwick's the same. If you get away with it, you get away with it. It's fine. But generally, it's dropping off only. Go in the car park, pay the money, do it all sensibly, and then there's no congestion. It's the same as the chap mentioned earlier for Luton.
Right, we're going to end it there. Thank you very much indeed. 08459 455 555. Now, from this week, clinical commissioning groups are being put in charge of a large chunk of the NHS budget. It's been dubbed one of the most radical plans in the history of the health service, with GP-led groups replacing primary care trusts. Our reporter, Hugo Goodridge, spoke to patients at Bute House Surgery in Luton about the changes.
Any change is a good change as long as it's beneficial to the people.
I'm not too sure about what changes are taking place. I'm not really sure about what exactly is going on. I mean, at the end of the day, I suffer from a long-term illness, so I'm constantly within the GP surgery and hospital, but yet I'm not aware of the changes which are taking place within the NHS.
I'm not sure, because I'm not sure what actually is going to change.
What would you like to see happen? What changes would you like to see in the NHS?
Changes I'd like to see would be, I think, GP surgeries being open more late and open on Saturdays and Sundays, weekends, where people can walk in and still see their GPs without needing appointments like 10 days in advance or stuff like that.
To be honest, I'm quite happy with the health service. If I've ever had to go to hospital, they've always been pretty prompt. GPs have always seemed to, this medical centre gives me enough appointments ready, available. So I really can't fault it, to be honest. And how it's going to later on affect me with the new changes, I don't know.
Do you think that there's been enough done to inform the public and to let them know what the changes are going to be and how it's going to affect them?
I would say no, because I didn't realise anything was changing.
No, I don't really know what the changes are, how it's going to affect me, how it's going to affect this particular medical centre.
No, not at all. I don't think enough's been done at all.
We're joined by 2 guests now. Dr Nazreen Razak is a GP and clinical director for primary care for Luton Clinical Commissioning Group, and Roy Lilly is a former NHS Trust chairman. Good morning to both of you.
Good morning.
Doctor, let's start with you first. Why are these changes a good thing?
Well, I think I've been a GP in Luton for about 7 years now, and I think for the first time it feels like my sort of views with regards to how clinical outcomes are going to make a difference to patient care is actually being listened to. and I'm quite involved now with the commissioning process and trying to sort of drive changes in services to improve quality of care of patients.
How is this better for patients, Doctor?
Well, Luton has quite a distinct population. It's got high rates of social deprivation, ischemic heart disease, diabetes, the long-term conditions that one of the patients mentioned. And, just having sort of blanket policies to provide services for patients overall is fine. But I just feel that we can cater for our patients more specifically and provide the services that they need.
We've heard from some patients who say they haven't been told enough about the changes. Should they have been told, or does it not really matter?
Well, I mean, I'm on the commissioning board, so really it's my duty to make sure that patients are aware of what's going on. But, the bottom line is that I'm here to look after the patients, and, they need to feel...
So you haven't... But some people might say that you haven't done your job properly then, if they don't know about the changes.
We've done... patient engagement has happened through sort of things like patient reference groups. We have a participation group in our surgery that meets once every sort of 6 to 8 weeks. They're aware of the changes, but at the end of the day, patients just want to be able to come to the doctors, see the doctor that they want to see and get the care they receive. And, I feel it's my job as a clinical lead to make sure that that's being done sort of at the commissioning level.
Roy, what do you think about this shake-up?
Well, I think it's going to be difficult for patients to see any difference, to be honest. The groups that we're talking about here, the clinical commissioning groups, so-called CCGs, have taken over from their predecessors, the primary care trusts. And frankly, we've gone in a huge loop, and a very expensive one too, to pretty much reinvent PCTs. We've still got that interim level of management. Now, it is true that there is an opportunity for GPs to become more engaged, but the evidence across the country really is that they're not bothering. The key person in a clinical commissioning group is supposed to be a GP, the so-called accountable officer. And in less than 20% of the cases up and down the country, it's a GP. So the GPs aren't actually sort of, hugely enthusiastic. Over time, the GPs will face the brunt of some very difficult problems because, as you know, we've spoken many times on this programme before, the NHS is in the throes of trying to save £20 billion by 2015, and after 2015, the funding for the NHS is very uncertain. So it's the GPs now that will carry the brunt of trying to save that money. It's the GPs who will have to explain firsthand to their patients why patients can't have something or treatment's been deferred. So they're in a pretty tough place.
And is that fair on the GPs, Doctor, that they'll be the ones that have to sit down with patients and say, well, I'm sorry, we've used our budget, we can't give you that treatment you need?
It's not fair. None of us asked for this sort of top-down transformation, of general practice once again. We're just... And the NHS is just changing all the time. And I think GPs in Luton felt that if we didn't sort of make it work for our patients, it would just... not engagement wasn't an option, really. We had to sort of go along with it. I hope it doesn't get to the point that we're going to have to sit there and explain why we've not managed to sort of balance the books. But really, my priority is to try and make the services work for my patients and, provide that value for money for the services that are being provided.
As Roy says, Doctor, the huge cuts have to be found in the NHS. So it seems obvious that some people will lose out on treatment, won't they?
Well, no, because we're trying to do things slightly differently. Yes, money needs to be saved, but we're trying to sort of be innovative about the way we do it. We've got things like integrated care, which is the new buzzword at the moment. And, in Luton it's working quite well because we're really, we've got really good communication with...
What does that mean, integrated care?
So it's basically providing health and social care services in sort of a seamless way. We've got good communication with Luton Borough Council and our other partners like community services. And, for the first time ever since I've been a GP, I've been able to sit around a table with, community nurse, a social worker, a voluntary sector like the people from Age UK, physiotherapist, and make a decision about, patients' care. And then the sort of measuring those outcomes, again, we're not sort of talking about meeting targets. It's about sort of patient's experience and what the patient gets out of it. And I feel that now I've got some say in sort of how those services are delivered and what the outcomes will be.
Roy, it sounds like it's going to, Dr. Nazreen Razak is painting a good picture of the outcome for patients.
Well, we've won't be able to measure out. I mean, you can't measure outcomes for some time. Outcomes are what's called a longitudinal measurement. So that means if you have a hip operation, you can't measure the outcome for some time before you know what it's like. But I think what the doctor is saying is right. I think it would be possible for GPs to have a greater say in how local services are organised. So, they might choose to do something for, diabetes in Luton, and somewhere else will do something else. So it will give rise, I think, to quite a lot of differences in services as GPs are enthusiasts for one particular disease area or have a lot of patients in a particular disease area, address them in their own little patches. So bear in mind, there are 211 of these clinical commissioning groups, and they're replacing 150 of their 4 on a PCT. So there are a lot more of them. So it is likely to give rise to a big variation in what entitlements are and what kind of services are available. But, GPs really, through the previous organisations, there was a facility, it was called a Professional Executive Committee. They could have had their input into doing this if they wanted to. And I think the other thing that what the doctor said is true. I mean, the doctors have been dumped with this. It would have been possible early on when the Act was first announced for doctors' leaders, the BMA and others, just to say, look, we don't want to do this and walk away. But they didn't do it, so they are stuck with it. And, they have got to make the best of it. And all we can say, as patients, is cross our fingers and say good luck.
Oh, dear. Roy, if that's the best we can do is cross our fingers. Roy Lilly, former NHS Trust Chairman, and Dr Nazreen Razak, GP, Clinical Director for Primary Care for Luton Clinical Commissioning Group. Well, this reminds me, actually, I've got the form in my bag. I've got to sign up at my register at my local GP today. I must do that. Well, I guess the question it's very complicated, isn't it? And I'm struggling to keep up with exactly what's going on. I suppose the question is, what changes would you like to see at your local doctors? I suppose that's what it boils down to, very simply. What would you like to see changed at your local GP surgery or in your local hospital? 08459 455 555. Let's get the travel news now. Here's Brooke Burfett.
Beds, Hearts and Bucks travel.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Good morning. The M25 anti-clockwise has solid queues from junction 16 for the M40 all the way to the complete closure of the anti-clockwise carriageway at junction 15 for the M4. That's for investigation work to an accident earlier. It'll take about between 40 to 50 minutes to get through the queues. It's busy on the A1 Watford Way from Apex Corner to Mill Hill Circus as well. And the A1M into London has a breakdown on the exit Slip Road at junction 3 for St Albans. One lane is closed and that's causing traffic to slow down. The M1 into London is congested between Luton Airport Spur Road. It's slow all the way to junction 9 for Redbourne. And with the trains, Chiltern Railway have 15-minute delays between Banbury into London Marylebone Station because of a broken down train, and London Midland are running a replacement bus service instead between Watford Junction and St Albans Abbey. Brooke Burfett, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Thank you, Brooke. It's 7:30, time for the news and sport now. Here's Serena Farrow.
Getting beds, hearts and bucks talking.
This is BBC Three Counties Radio.
Good morning. 2 Kidderminster fans are being treated in hospital after their coach was attacked in Luton yesterday. Parking charges at Luton Airport's drop-off zone has increased by 100% and is now £2 for 15 minutes. The Chancellor will hit back today at criticism of the government's changes to welfare from political opponents, church leaders and charities. And as we've been hearing, clinical commissioning groups across Beds, Hearts and Bucks, which are led by GPs, have now taken charge of a large portion of the NHS budget. That's all the news. Now let's have a look at the morning sport.
Beds, Hearts and Bucks Sport.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
So MK Dons entertained Bradford in League One and beat them 2-0 yesterday. That boosts the Dons to 10th now and still keeps their playoff hopes alive. Staying with League One, and Graham Wesley seems to be a good luck charm for Stevenage. He took charge of his first match yesterday since his return to the club. His side beat Hartlepool 1-0 with a goal coming from Max Emma. And it doesn't just stop there though. Wesley's hopeful for more success.
I guess the club, wants to progress, and I want somewhere, again where I can progress further. So, ambition, I suppose, is the link that keeps myself and Stevenage together.
Luton are 9th, having lost to conference leaders Kidderminster Harriers 2-1. And in Championship news, Leeds United manager Neil Warnock has parted company with the club. Warnock left his job around 2 hours after Leeds' 2-1 defeat by Derby yesterday. And at the KC Stadium tonight, second place Hull play third place Watford. A win for Gianfranco Zola's side would move them to within a point of Hull. And finally, new Sunderland manager Paolo Di Canio holds his first press conference in around half an hour's time. Di Canio was appointed on Sunday following the sacking of Martin O'Neill. BBC Three Counties Radio will bring you more at 7:08 even.
Sorry?
I'm looking at our clock.
I know.
And it's back. It still hasn't gone forward, has it?
Can you believe that we are the BBC, Serena?
Jeez.
And it requires the head of technicals to come in and adjust the clocks.
I know. I tried to do it, and it's all that radio-controlled malarkey, isn't it?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
So, all you have to do, though, is
Martians in the sky.
Just add an hour on to what's on there, and that should work.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Across beds, hearts and bucks, this is Iain Lee on BBC Three Counties Radio.
It's true. We've got these clocks. It's not even a fancy digital clock. It's a normal clock with hands, analog, and it's saying 6:33. I can't adjust it. I don't have the power or the technical training, and I'm not in the correct union to touch that clock. We're the BBC, for goodness sakes. Morning, this is Iain Lee, BBC Three Counties Radio. Coming up between now and 8 o'clock, changes to legal aid have come into force. Now it's not possible to get free legal advice to deal with some divorce battles. Well, I'll be speaking to a divorce lawyer from Milton Keynes about why she's concerned. And do you remember the parents who are angry about funding being removed for faith school transport? They all had a protest. Was it last week or a couple of weeks ago? And they blocked up the roads and all of that. Well, the council has apparently rejected their petition. We'll find out more in the next 20 minutes. Now, with these changes coming into the NHS today, it's all a bit confusing, if I'm honest. I'm struggling to keep up with it. I just about am, but it's tricky. I think it boils down to, what would you like to see done differently in your local GP surgery? Well, Joyce is in Leagrave. Good morning, Joyce.
Good morning, Mr. Lee.
Good morning, Ms. Joyce. Do you hate it when people are all a bit informal in shops? Go, all right, love, can I help you?
Well, I found it quite nice in Barclays last week because as I came out, a young lady, good morning, Mr. Downing, have a nice day.
Oh, well, see, now that's nice,
It was nice. I really appreciated that. I mean, the men usually stand there, good morning, hands crossed and sort of,
yes.
As you nods as you come in. But it was quite nice to be known as a person.
As a human being?
Yeah, that's it.
What would you like to see changed in your doctor's surgery?
Well, there is a new change in our doctor's surgery and another one, Marsh Farm Health Centre.
Yeah.
And I am visually impaired. I can see, but I can't see, if you know what I mean. And the thing being, these new elongated sort of signs that come up. Instead of the doctor coming out and saying, Mrs. Downing or Mr. Lee, Mr. So-and-so,
yes.
This red sort of name comes up and you can't read it.
Oh.
It's really weird. So the thing is, I object to that because it's digital. It doesn't look like a D or,
So your name flashes up on a screen?
Yes, that's correct. And I think what's wrong there, they haven't thought about it properly because I think there should be a verbal as well as...
Yes.
Because you just can't see it. And people, even not visually impaired, got the glasses in the pocket and they don't know, where it is or they don't know what's going on. I don't think it's very good.
Have you mentioned this to the to the receptionists? They are a bit nosy receptionists, aren't they? They're not necessarily there, but...
They're very nice, ours are.
No, they are generally nice. But all doctors I've been to, when I phoned up to make an appointment, what's the problem?
Yes.
I'd like to tell a doctor, someone who has medical training, please. But have you mentioned to the receptionist, Joyce, that you have a problem with this?
To be quite honest, I have.
Yes.
And while I was down at the foot clinic in Marsh Farm...
Oh, dear.
There were about 4 men, gentlemen in their suits and whatever, middle-aged-ish, and a couple of young ones, and a young lady with the clipboards walking around, airs and graces, looking up over the doors. And I said, I did go up, actually, and I said, excuse me, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but are you doing any new signs like these?
Yes.
So she said, well, we're looking for different signs to go up as well. I said, well, are you aware? And I told her exactly what I told you.
Yes.
And I said, I hope you didn't mind me mentioning that, But it's quite essential that people can hear it as well as if they can't see it.
Very essential, yes.
So consequently, she said, no, we're grateful for your input, but why should we have to tell them?
Exactly. We're grateful for your input, but we're going to do nothing about it, Joyce. Thank you very much indeed. 08459 455 555. Lots of, seem to be talking about things being scrapped a lot at the moment. Legal aid is going to be scrapped for certain disputes. Now, it's not possible to get free legal advice to deal with some divorce battles and personal injury cases, amongst other civil cases. The government are making the cutbacks in an effort to cut the £2 billion annual legal aid bill. Mary Banham-Hall is a divorce lawyer and a mediator from Milton Keynes. Good morning, Mary.
Good morning.
What do these changes mean for people wanting to get divorced?
Well, they're still going to split up and they're still going to get divorced. And to be fair, they've been doing their own divorces as such for a long time. What they have been able to do is get legal aid to finance their disputes over children at court and to finance their disputes over property, housing, pensions and maintenance money. And that is what's going, unless there is significant domestic violence and there are court proceedings and all sorts of other... There's a whole list of things hurdles you have to get over to get...
For the domestic violence, to get legal aid around that, doesn't it have to have been reported twice or something to the police? There's kind of lots of stipulations, aren't there?
Well, there's a lot of stipulations, yes. And there have to be ongoing proceedings,
right.
Or proceedings less than 2 years old. So a woman who had very, very serious domestic violence, but it's outside the 2-year period, will not get legal aid. So there's some really serious unintended consequences here.
Now, with the domestic violence situation, that's obviously very extreme. Putting that to one side for a second, the general Mr. and Mrs. Smith getting divorced, without legal aid, what's your biggest concern about that?
Well, the government has said it's put an extra 10 million into mediation, but I am a mediator and I do legal aid mediation, and I actually don't think that we're going to be spending any of that money. I think that's a bit of window dressing, because an awful lot of our cases would be legal aid court applicants who were referred to hear about mediation, who then went on to mediate, and of course they're not going to be sent to us anymore. And unfortunately, although there is technically a requirement that everybody who applies to court, whether they want legal aid or not, has to see a mediator and hear about mediation, not all of them are getting referred and they're issuing proceedings anyway. So we're actually expecting lots of people to either be acting for themselves, and the courts are already full of litigants in person or self-represented people, or they're not going to do anything. And of course, not doing anything is not a cost-free solution. I saw a couple the other day, and it was a classic long marriage where she should get half the house and half the pension, and she wasn't going to get legal aid, and because she didn't qualify, just by a pipsqueak, and she wasn't going to do anything. She wasn't going to get her share of the pension or anything, and was going to probably end up on benefits. So it's not cost-free.
Are you, Mary, let me ask you a direct question, if you don't mind, and please don't think I'm being rude, although maybe I'm a little bit. Are you genuinely concerned about the outcomes of these couples, or are you worried that perhaps you might be losing a little bit of work?
Well, there's plenty of work. It's a case of whether people are going to get the help they need. You can't, I mainly mediate. You can't make people mediate. It's voluntary. It requires commitment. It requires people to want to do that, and want to be fair and want to sort things out. Not everybody does want to sort things out. If they're sitting on all the assets, and if they do nothing, they think they're going to continue to sit on all the assets, then why would they go to mediation if they're not wanting to be fair and make provision for the other person to have a fair share? So I am actually very worried that in some cases it's going to be extremely unfair and not what everybody would want to happen if they sat down and thought about it. It's cost saving, yes, and I think the Children Act applications, I have to admit, I'm a little less worried about.
What's that?
Well, there are two sorts of proceedings that follow divorce. There's fighting over the children and fighting over the property, money and pensions. Now, the law relating to property, money and pensions is quite complicated, and people would struggle with that. More often than not, the disputes over say, contact in residence, which is where the children live and how often they see the other parent, are relatively simple. Somebody wants to have the children Tuesdays and Thursdays till 8 o'clock or 6 o'clock, and the other one doesn't want them to have them. And actually the amount of law involved in some of those cases is negligible. There has to be a finding of fact that the children are not at risk with the other parent, and if they're not at risk, then somebody's got to impose an arrangement on them, a set of arrangements on them, if they can't agree it. And we did 7 years of mediating at Milton Keynes County Court on this, and we found that a vast number of these cases were pretty well settled by mediation. And in fact, mediation helped with communication, and it helped sort things out in such a way that they could start to make arrangements themselves rather than going to court as a first resort.
Mary, sorry to interrupt. We're running out of time. There's a couple of things I want to ask. I'm finding this whole thing fascinating. Can you clear something up for me? We've got a statement here from Justice Minister Lord McNally. He says, we need to make sure taxpayers' money is not spent resolving too many disputes in court when there are quicker, cheaper and less stressful options available.
Yes. Well,
what are the quicker, cheaper and less stressful options for people who are getting divorced?
Mediation.
Right, that's it.
What this is all about.
Right.
Except that the mediators, if you ask us, are saying, well, actually, these clients are not necessarily going to find us. How are they going to find us? Who's going to send them? Because the courts are not sending them, and the legal aid solicitors who did send them are not going to be sending them, and the clients who don't need legal aid should be sent, but are not always being sent because the proceedings are being issued without these FM1 forms that they should have before they issue. So that is supposed to change in 6-12 months' time, but it hasn't changed yet. So we're looking at perhaps a year where mediators don't know where their work's going to come from. So how people think that they're going to be another 10 million spent on mediation, legal aid, I don't know.
And Mary, final question. There are some people who might argue that over the last 10-15 years, divorce has got too easy, and it's discouraged people from trying to work through and making the lifelong commitment that they've made, making it work. And of course it doesn't work for everybody, of course it doesn't, but has divorce got too easy?
I would say if people have decided to split up, I always look at the possibility of reconciliation, and I very rarely manage to persuade someone to go to counselling. And of course a lot of these people aren't married anyway. They've been living together and have split up. So I think it's very sad because I think social norms have changed and people almost expect to split up if things go wrong, and they are not working as hard at relationships as they used to.
And that's a bit sad, isn't it?
It is very, very sad, particularly for the children. But at the end of the day, if you work in the business of trying to help people split up without damaging each other and their kids, which is what mediation is, and you're looking at reconciliation and asking about that, have you had counselling and all this sort of thing, if people say, we don't want counselling, it's too late, you can't make
There's nothing you can do. Mary, very fascinating. Thank you very much indeed. There's Mary Banham Hall, a divorce lawyer and a mediator from Milton Keynes. I could have talked to her all morning. She was fascinating, wasn't she? 7:45, travel news now. Brooke Burfitt.
Beds, Herts and Bucks travel.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
My speed sensors are showing delays on the A1 Great North Road. It's really busy at the Black Cat roundabout, particularly bad heading towards Sandy. The M1 into London, very slow between junction 10 for Luton Airport to Spur Road to 9 for Redbourne. There's also the particular congestion hotspot normal for this time in the morning. The A1 Watford Way from Apex Corners slow to Mill Hill Circus. Now the M40 into London, that's now slow from junction 2 at Beaconsfield to the M25. I think this is a knock-on effect from the nasty queues on the M25 anti-clockwise. There's solid queues from junction 16 for the M40 all the way to the closure of the carriageway at junction 15 for the M4, and according to my speed sensors it'll take over an hour to get through those queues. With the trains, Chiltern Railway reporting 15 minutes delays between Banbury into London because of a train which broke down earlier, and London Midland are running a replacement bus service between Watford Junction and St Albans Abbey. Brooke Burfitt, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Brooke, thank you very much. Right, it's 7:46. It's Tuesday the 4th... No, sorry, I do apologise. Whoa, calm down. It's Tuesday the 2nd of April. I'm Iain Lee, and these are your headlines on BBC Three Counties Radio. 2 Kidderminster fans are being treated in hospital after their coach was attacked in Luton. Parking charges have doubled at Luton Airport's drop-off zone. And in sport, it was a good start for Stevenage boss Graham Wesley as his side beat Hartlepool 1-0 yesterday. Now, coming up, do you remember a couple of weeks ago, I think it was, the parents who were angry about funding being removed for Faith School transport? We sent Justin down there and it all got a little bit hairy as the roads got blocked up. Well, the council has rejected their petition. We'll find out why before 8 o'clock, but now let's get the latest weather. Here's Lara Lewington.
Beds, Hearts and Bucks weather.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Well, a cold start to the day, but there will be plenty of sunshine over the coming hours, even though those temperatures aren't topping just 7 degrees, and a chilly northeasterly wind making it feel even colder than that. Come tonight, well, a build-up of cloud cover as we move through the night, which is stopping the temperatures from dropping as low as they otherwise might, but still down to -1. And tomorrow, well, that build-up of cloud cover could for some translate into the odd wintry shower. Showers around for a fair few, but the chance of them being wintry for some. So a little sleet, a little snow, and those temperatures tomorrow getting up to about 6 or 7 degrees.
Thank you, Laura.
Tackling your consumer problems.
On BBC Three Counties Radio.
My son took it back to the garage. The mechanic says, yeah, I know what it is. So they took it in, done what they had to do, and the car was still the same, still doing the same thing.
The JVS Show.
Fighting for your rights.
The long and short of it is, he agreed that he would replace the car.
If you have a consumer problem,
we can do the same for you.
I'd like to thank you and your team for everything you've done. We wouldn't have got where we got without you.
It's a pleasure. I'm going to call that a result. Any other problems, you know where I am, Stuart.
The JVS Show.
Fighting for your rights.
Weekday mornings from 9 on BBC Three Counties Radio.
08459 455 555 is the telephone number if you want to give us a call this morning, or you can go to facebook.com/BBC 3CR. Now, one of the things you've been talking about is the changes to the charges at Luton Airport. If you drop passengers off at the airport, at the short-term car park, it would cost you £1 for 10 minutes. Not anymore. From today, it's now £2 for 15 minutes. Well, Justin Dealey has been at the airport this morning. And Justin, you're furious, aren't you?
I'm not furious. I haven't used this airport for a long time. It's a brilliant airport.
Listen, I've got to say, I do love Luton Airport. There are presenters on this station, I won't name them, JVS, who knock Luton Airport, and I'm not one of them because I use it regularly and I think it's great. But
yes,
I do think this is a little bit cheeky.
Well, I have to say that the drop-off zone this morning, very, very busy, full of very unhappy people about these charges. I spoke to Phil a moment ago, and this is what happened. So, Phil, the charge is up to £2 for 15 minutes. As somebody who's been here, 3 times in the last 6 weeks, is that good value for money?
No, I don't think so.
Tell us why.
I think it's a rip-off at £2.
Why don't you use the free car park?
Well, it's a 30-minute free car park, but 30 minutes is not long enough when you're not sure what time the flight's coming in. You don't know how long people are going to be in the airport. You need more than 30 minutes.
And what about the car parks that you have paid for here as well? How expensive are they?
That's extremely expensive. I dropped my son off here a few weeks ago, went for a coffee, cost me £13 something to get out, £11 charge and £2 something for using a credit card.
Clearly you're not happy. Some of our listeners are not happy either. What is your message to London Luton Airport this morning?
Reduce the parking costs, get rid of the drop-off costs, or make it £1 for half an hour. If you stay here more than 15 minutes, you've an £80 fine. So
it is a great airport, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's a great airport.
You just feel like you're being ripped off?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So the views of Phil there. He's clearly not happy. Plenty more reaction to come in. You're going to hear from those people after 8:30. They're saying, look, £2 too much. £1 for 10 minutes was bad enough, but now £2 for 15 minutes. And a lot of people saying to me, well, what am I going to do with that extra 5 minutes? I simply pull up, I drop off my family, and I go. I get an extra 5 minutes for what? They're not happy.
You raise an excellent point, Justin. It could create more congestion as people sit there trying to get their money's worth.
I mean, people are going to sit there saying, oh, this coffee tastes nice. Oh, getting good value for money. I'll have a cigarette or something. I don't know. You will hear some more angry views after 8:30 on your show.
You are right, because when you drop off, what is it? 2 minutes, 3 minutes, you get the bags out, you get the people out, you give them a kiss, you say bye-bye, that's it, you're off. I'm gonna sit there with the Costas now and enjoy it.
Yeah, I think you should do, yeah.
Justin, thank you very much. We'll speak to you a little bit later on. Andrew is from Hatfield. You're a taxi driver, Andrew, is that right?
Yeah, I am, yeah.
And do you drop off at Luton Airport very regularly?
Because we're the main contractor for EE and Pitney Bowes, and we go. In fact, I've only just recently talked to one of the directors into using Luton, where she was coming into Heathrow, and I was explaining to her it's much better to come from Ireland and use Luton, and she has.
Yep.
She does. And we meet her and drop her off as we do loads of people. So, anyway, it's no surprise, is it? It's owned by the council, money-grabbing council, isn't it?
Is that... Well, we had an expert on earlier on who said, no, it's not about money grabbing. It's about reducing congestion at the front of the airport.
That's rubbish. I'll tell you what, right? If you went there, I mean, you've got a man there now. They've recently spent quite a lot of time and money reorganising the car park arrangement. Incidentally, the car park, if you use it, is more expensive than Heathrow.
Right.
So when you want to, if you have to actually park in there and go and meet somebody, and because you've got to go and hold the sign up and so on, it's a nightmare. We pre-warn people. We say, look, our cost to go to and from Luton is £30, but we're going to have to add on any X's, And so we were making it 31. Now we've got to make it 32. If we have to go in the car park, it's a big rip-off. The whole place is a rip-off. Don't you even have to pay to get a trolley?
Andrew, I'm not sure. I think you do, actually. I think you do. Andrew from Hatfield, thank you very much indeed. And I do like Luton Airport. Please don't think for a second, I'm a Luton basher. Oh, that sounds like a horrible euphemism, doesn't it? Not at all. I think it's a cracking airport. I do think this £2 to drop off and pick up is a bit cheeky. Some of you have been commenting on the Facebook page. Steve says, rip off. Benjamin says, sounds like good value to me. If you're getting an extra 5 minutes for £2, does it really matter if they charge for dropping off or picking up? There's more important things to worry in the world. Peter says, should be free, especially for Luton residents, seeing as we actually own the airport. Monica, what, for another 5 minutes if you can't even leave the car up there? Even £1 is too much. Sonny, I don't want the extra 5 minutes. It makes no difference. It takes 30 seconds to be dropped off. Luton Airport, you are greedy. You charge for trolleys. You charge for plastic bags. They do charge for plastic bags. And you have to buy 2 plastic bags. You can't just buy 1. Soon you will start charging for using the toilets. Adam says it's actually cheaper to get a train to Gatwick and fly from there, which is what we do. Oh, dear. Flights from Luton are always more expensive because of the amount they charge airlines, not just customers. It's usually even cheaper to go from Stansted, a fortnight's parking included. Oh dear, Luton Airport. Come on now. 08459 455 555. Now, a couple of weeks ago, we told you about the parents who were angry at Luton Borough Council for taking away free school transport for their children who are at faith schools. Well, now they've had an e-petition with over 1,000 names rejected by the council. The council said they couldn't accept a petition without addresses, so the campaign are producing a written petition today to force a debate. Well, Antoinette Cotula is from the Cardinal Newman Preserve, our school transport committee. Good morning, Antoinette.
Good morning, how are you?
Yeah, I'm fine, thank you. We were live with you when you and the other parents put on your protest.
Yes.
It did cause travel chaos.
Yes, it did.
What was the response?
What was the response?
What did people say to you about it?
Well, I think the majority of people were very, very supportive. There was some people that weren't, but the majority of people were very supportive and understanding of what we'd done, basically. We didn't want to deliberately cause chaos. What we wanted to do was show the council that if the buses go in September, unfortunately, this is what's going to happen day in, day out.
You've done this e-petition.
Yes.
Did you know that the council wouldn't accept it?
No, we had no idea. I tell you what, we actually went on the council website because we wanted to speak at the next full council meeting. And we went on the council website looking for information on petitions. They had no information, so we Googled the phrase petition, and we came up with minutes from a meeting in 2010 stating that they would have the e-petition up and running by the end of 2010, which they don't. So then we went over and we used a reputable group called change.org, got our 1,300 signatures, contacted Deborah Craig on this 14th of March that we had this e-petition, and for her to give us some advice. 5 days later, the response was saying that our e-petition couldn't be accepted because we had no addresses.
And could you understand why the council need to see the addresses? Because they want to be sure, don't they? It's only Luton residents.
Yeah, absolutely. I do understand that. But the reality is they're supposed to have an e-petition set up there for the people. They haven't. So we went off using an organisation. We didn't make one up ourselves, thinking that this was the right way. The people that signed up to that, the 1,300 people, are completely 150% above board. And we were really, really frustrated, really cross by the whole thing. And all they've done is sent through an 8-page confusing document from 2010, which is 3 years ago, and stating one of the pages went on about the e-petition that they were going to set up in 2010, which they've never got around to, basically.
Is it right, Antoinette, that you've got a public meeting organised with Hazel Simmons now?
Yes, we do. On the 17th of March, down in Cardinal Newman School.
17th of March, 17th of April?
17th of April,
yes.
Sorry, yes.
Oh, OK.
I'm obsessed by March. No, the 17th of April, and it's down in Cardinal Newman School at 7 p.m. And the whole idea is that, the general public can come in and ask Hazel Simmons as many questions about the funding cuts as they want.
Specifically about the school bus?
Yes, that's what it's aimed at.
Antoinette, do you not have to face the harsh reality that actually you've probably lost this one?
Oh, I don't think so, by any means whatsoever. I mean, it's interesting because people say, there has to be cutbacks, and yes, we do understand that. But the reality is, if you look into council figures, some of the money that's been spent on various things throughout the year and throughout the years, 300,000 isn't a massive sum of money for some of the money that they're spending on other sums to come up and fund the school buses. And also, this goes back for many, many, many years, where when this was built, the school was built in 1968, there was an agreement with the council and the Catholic school that they would provide transport for the kids forever, basically. And basically, we also today want to make a bit of an appeal, especially to the more senior population of people out there, that if they've got any feedback or information on that agreement in 1968, to please come back to us on it, because we want as much details on this as possible.
Well, Antoinette, you're meeting with Hazel on the 17th. If it's OK, we'll speak to you on the morning of Thursday the 18th to see how that went.
Yeah, that would be absolutely fantastic. Yeah,
Antoinette, we will speak to you then. We've got to leave it there because we're running out of time, but thank you very much indeed. We did try to get someone from Luton Borough Council on the show today, but no one was available. Right, let's get the travel news now. Here's Brooke Burfitt.
Beds, Herts and Bucks travel.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Thank you. Well, the problems continue on the M25 anti-clockwise, I'm afraid. The carriageway is closed at junction 15 for the M4. Traffic is diverting onto the M4 after a serious accident. It's causing solid queues back from junction 16 at the M40. It's taking nearly over an hour to get through those queues, having a knock-on effect on traffic queuing on the M40 into London from junction 2 at Beaconsfield as well. The M25 clockwise in the opposite direction is slow through the roadworks between junction 22 at St Mims to 23 for South Mims. The A10 Great Cambridge Road, I've got that up on my cameras at the moment. That's very slow this morning between Bellsmore Lane to Southbury Road. And with the trains, London Midland are now running once again between Watford Junction and St Albans Abbey. Brooke Burfitt, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Thank you very much, Brooke. What a busy show we've had this morning, and plenty more to come, including have your say about the increased charges for dropping off and picking up at Luton Airport. We'll discuss that more after the news with Serena Farrow.
Getting beds, hearts and bucks talking.
This is BBC Three Counties Radio.
Good morning. The headlines: football fans in hospital after Bedfordshire attack, parking charges double at Luton Airport, and better care for patients across Beds, Herts and Bucks.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
4 local men have been arrested after 2 Kidderminster fans were attacked on their coach in Luton. It happened yesterday in Dunstable Road following the game with Kidderminster Harriers, in which the Hatters lost 2-1. Bedfordshire police want to point out that the argument broke out between local residents and didn't appear to have any connection with the football club. In other news, parking charges have doubled at Luton Airport's drop-off zone. It's now £2 for a 15-minute wait, whereas before it was £1 for 10 minutes. Alan Bostock from Harpenden was caught short as he dropped off his daughter this morning.
But there was no indication whatsoever that there was this 100% rise, and just turn up there. And a lot of people are going to turn up this morning just with £1 in their pocket, and they're going to find themselves in dire straits, I should imagine.
Also speaking to Iain Lee earlier this morning was Tony Dixon, the editor of Airliner World magazine.
I think it's a congestion easing scheme. And yes, people will have to pay money, but the option, as I say, just go into the midterm car park, drop off, you've got half an hour free. And I mean, it's possibly that people drop off or pick up and stretch their 10 or 15 minutes, and there's just too many cars doing it.
Let's turn to other news now, and the Chancellor will hit back today at criticism of the government's changes to welfare from political opponents, church leaders and charities. Labour sees them as an attack on the poor, but George Osborne will say that such comments are predictable and that the old system trapped people in poverty while penalising work. Meanwhile, clinical commissioning groups led by GPs have now taken charge of a large portion of the NHS budget. They'll now decide how to spend funds on local services from hospitals to community-based clinics. GP Nazrin Razak, and Clinical Director for Primary Care at Luton CCG, says patients will now get better care.
Luton has quite a distinct population. It's got high rates of social deprivation, ischemic heart disease, diabetes, the long-term conditions that one of the patients mentioned. And, just having sort of blanket policy to provide services for patients overall is fine, but I just feel that we can cater for our patients more specifically and provide the services that they need.
And straight after this bulletin, we'll be hearing from Debbie Brock, who's chair of the Shadow Health and Wellbeing Board at Milton Keynes Council. We'll be getting her views. Parents angry at Luton Borough Council for taking away school transport for their children have had an e-petition with more than 1,000 names rejected by the local authority. The council says it couldn't accept the form without addresses. So the members of the Cardinal Newman Preserve Our School Transport Committee plan to now return to the council offices today with a paper petition in an attempt to force a debate on the issue. Turning to sport, then, MK Dons have kept their playoff hopes alive after beating Brentford 2-0 yesterday, and it was a good start for Stevenage boss Graham Wesley as his side beat Hartlepool 1-0. Finally, then, weather, and it's still cold out, but set to be quite dry and sunny, thankfully. Temperatures of 7 degrees Celsius, that's 45 in Fahrenheit. There's more news and sport online at bbc.co.uk/3 counties. BBC Three Counties Radio, first for news.
Morning, this is Iain Lee, BBC Three Counties Radio. 3 minutes past 8. It's Tuesday, and I'll be honest, I'm really hungry. We haven't got any food in our house. Couldn't have any cereal, just had a cup of coffee. That's no breakfast for a growing lad. Coming up between now and JVS at 9 o'clock, a football fan has been stabbed after their coach was attacked in Luton yesterday. Well, reporter Justin Dealey has been to Dunstable Road near the Mansfield Road junction where it happened and can bring us up to speed with the police investigation. Now, if you dropped passengers off at Luton Airport, it would cost you £1 for 10 minutes. Well, guess what? It doesn't cost you that anymore. It's now £2 for 15 minutes. Alan in Harpenden was very kind and got in touch and told us about it. He doesn't think it's been publicised enough. Well, do you think it's worth the extra money? Or is it a complete rip-off? And big changes to the NHS have come into effect today. GP-led groups are replacing primary care trusts. I'll be honest with you, it's complicated. I'm struggling to keep up to speed with it, but we'll try and give you as much info as we can about how the changes could affect you. As always, go to the Facebook page, have a good argument with the other listeners on there. It's fun. Don't be rude. Don't play nasty. Play nice, but have an argument. Why not? Facebook.com/BBC3CR. You can follow me on Twitter at Iain Lee, IAINLEE, or, look, the entire switchboard is free. Now's the perfect time to give us a call. 08459 455 555.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
A football fan has been stabbed and another taken to hospital after their coach was attacked in Luton. It happened yesterday in Dunstable Road near the Mansfield Road junction. Well, Justin Dealey has more details. Justin, whereabouts are you?
I'm on the Dunstable Road at the moment in Luton, which is very near to where this incident happened yesterday afternoon. What exactly happened? Well, 2 men were amongst 5 busloads of supporters who had travelled to support Kidderminster Harriers against Luton Town yesterday afternoon. Bedfordshire Police said as the coaches queued in the traffic about a mile away from the Kenilworth Road Stadium, an argument broke out between local residents and the Kidderminster supporters in the rear coach. So, again, they're saying this is local residents and nothing to do with fans of Luton Town.
And when did it happen?
Well, it happened after the game, not before, happened after the game, as the vehicles were leaving Luton on the return journey on their way to Junction 11 of the M1 on the Dunstable Road. A police spokesman said it led to the coach being attacked. Then some of the supporters got off to remonstrate and a fight then ensued. 2 Kidderminster fans are being treated in hospital. They are for non-life-threatening injuries, although sadly one fan was stabbed twice.
And has anyone been arrested yet, Justin?
Yes, 4 local men have been arrested and police are investigating the violence which broke out on Dunstable Road near the Mansfield Road junction. Police said the attackers, again to quote here, did not appear to have any connection to Luton Town. Kidderminster, they won the game 2-1, which leaves them top of the table.
What's the area like this morning? Is there any sign of the trouble that happened?
Well, no, certainly talking to local people, they saw the police here last night. There was certainly a big police presence. A lot of people wondered what had happened here last night. So that police presence was here after the game and into the night. But certainly this morning, very, very quiet. A number of those shops are still closed, and that police presence has now disappeared this morning. So travelling past the Mansfield Road junction there on Dunstable Road, you wouldn't think anything had happened here yesterday.
And what have the people involved with the world of football been saying about this?
Well, Steve Millington, who's the chairman of the Kidderminster Harriers Independent Supporters Trust, he said that we deplore the attack on the coach. This shouldn't happen in football or in society in general. He also goes on to say that we're pleased to hear the injuries to the lad who was stabbed are not thought to be life-threatening, and we wish both those who were taken to hospital a speedy recovery. A spokesman for the East of England Ambulance Service, they confirmed they had taken 2 men to hospital. They say we conveyed 2 people, one a 38-year-old man, to the Luton and Dunstable Hospital. Now, some would say it's not connected to football, but again, it's another bad story about Luton, and I believe still at this moment in time it's the most read on the BBC online site.
Apparently so, and of course when things like this happen, Twitter and Facebook spark all kinds of rumours, don't they?
They do, and I think it would be unfair to go into detail of what was being said yesterday, but as you can imagine, when you have an incident near to a football stadium, people come up with all sorts of theories, and again, those are probably still out there this morning. I think the initial reaction from people was this was quite a high-profile game yesterday because Kidderminster Harriers, top of the table, they needed to get 3 points. I think a lot of people thought over 6,000 people there yesterday. It's a big crowd, you know, when you consider Luton's position in the league right now. I think a lot of people jumped to the conclusion this was all to do with football supporters, and we saw that on Twitter, we saw that on Facebook, but again, I can only quote what the police are saying in their statement, and they are saying we believe this has got nothing to do with Luton Town supporters.
But as a fan of, and, you know, we are saying this, as far as we know, it's nothing to do with Luton Town or any of their supporters, but as a fan of football, Justin, this will surely scare people away from Luton Town Football Club, wouldn't it? It would. Listen, I've been there once, and as a casual goer, it would certainly make me think twice about going.
You would think so, but again, you've got to look at the facts here. This didn't happen inside the stadium. This didn't happen, you know, right outside the ground either. This happened a little way away from the ground. We don't know the full facts yet. Again, we know some of the facts, but of course, as today goes on, we could hear more. But again, the police are saying this has got absolutely nothing to do with football.
Justin Dealey, thank you very much indeed.
Across beds, hearts and bucks, this is Iain Lee on BBC Three Counties Radio.
Yeah, that's right. You heard the newspapers being rustled. We'll have a look at the front pages of the newspapers, shall we? The Times. Where's what newspaper is Matt on? My favourite cartoonist.
The Times.
He's normally on the Times. Where is he? Is he on the Times? Are we missing a newspaper today? It feels like we're a paper light. We've got the Guardian, the Independent, the Times, the Mail, the Express, and the Sun. Are we missing a paper producer, Laura? What other newspapers are there? It's like one of those trays, that game for kids, where you have a tray full of like a jug, an apple, a paper clip. Then you cover it and take something away, and they have to try and remember it.
We never get the Star or the Mirror, the quality newspaper.
I know, and I really think that is outrageous. That we don't get the Star, Britain's greatest newspaper. For goodness sake, I'm going to go to... There's a website, Front Pages, that will... I'm sure... I've had... My brain is completely frozen this morning. I'm sure we're missing a newspaper. Let's go. Let's see what we've got here compared to...
Find out what we're missing. What are you betting on?
So we've got... well, I don't know. I can't think. We're missing the Telegraph. Do we normally get the Telegraph?
Yeah, we do. It's the big one that I read.
We normally get the Telegraph, and Matt's on the Telegraph.
So what was on the front page of the Star?
Oh, sorry, yes.
We're waiting.
It's DiCanio, I am not a racist.
Okay.
Brackets, so how do you explain the salute? And it's got him doing the old naughty salute there that we don't really do anymore. And the Mirror is anyone can live on £7 a day, says Ian Duncan Smith. Anyway, so we're missing a newspaper with the with Matt on, which is a shame. Maybe Matt's found out we've been dissing him on the show, and he said, look, don't send my cartoons to BBC Three Counties anymore. They don't give me the respect I deserve. Oh, Matt, we give you plenty of respect. Let's have a look. The Times. £1 billion plan to put Britain on the road to recovery. Osborne to underwrite new toll motorway. Britain's second toll motorway is to be given the green light in an attempt to stimulate the faltering economy with capital spending. Ministers are set to revive a decade-old plan to ease congestion on the M4 in South Wales. Oh, it's in Wales, don't worry. As part of a multi-billion-pound road-building scheme. It's only in Wales, don't worry, no one will use it. And there's a picture of Michelle Obama. She surely gets her teeth whitened. It's funny, because I was thinking of getting my teeth whitened the other day. I hate my teeth. They're a horrible shape, and they're a bit stained because I drink lots of tea. I hate teeth anyway. And I said, I might get my teeth whitened. I had it done once before, for free, of course. And they bleach it. There's bleach. It really hurt. It stung my teeth. How can your teeth sting? It did. And it didn't really make that much difference either. Anyway, she's got very white teeth. And she's reading a book. Goodness knows why that makes the front page of The Times. Michelle Obama reads a book to children. The Independent, Iain Duncan Smith is on the front page. Could Iain Duncan Smith survive on £53 a week? He says he could. So it's lucky he gets to live in his millionaire wife's listed ancestral home rent-free. Hey, TV executives, make a show. Channel 4, BBC 2. Go on, make a show where Iain Duncan Smith lives on £53 a week for, 2 months. You reckon he could do it? I don't think so. It's tough. The Guardian. Osborne, we will make work pay. Chancellor defends welfare changes as necessary to fix a broken system. And lambs to the slaughter. Melting snow reveals frozen carcasses. Oh, look, Paul Scoynes. Look, he's hot on the trail. He's just texted me 3 minutes later, the newspaper we're missing. Thank you, Paul. He's texted, The Telegraph, you fools. Well, thanks very much, Scoynes. The Daily Mail. Schools expel 15 sex bullies a day. 15 children expelled from school for sexual misconduct on average every day. Really? Truth about BBC welfare victim who dared IDS to live on £53. I think it's kind of irrelevant, really. The Mail have found the gentleman that challenged Iain Duncan Smith to live on £53 a week, and they've discovered this gentleman is a self-confessed ducker and diver. David Bennett likes playing poker, and he's he's self-employed ducker and diver. So that doesn't weaken his argument. That doesn't detract from the fact that he's challenging a millionaire to live on £53 a week, as some people on benefits will have to do. That's almost irrelevant. Turn to page 6. Let's turn to page 6 and find out what we found about him. This gentleman, what is it, David Bennett, in February he tweeted to Iain Duncan, he tweeted to gambling tipsters telling them, rough day today, lads, going to have to find your magic potion again soon. The month before he tweeted he'd won an accumulator bet at odds of £28 to 1. He told BBC Radio 4's Today he had worked as a credit manager for most of his life until he was made redundant 3 years ago. He set up a new business as a self-employed market trader and said he worked up to 70 hours a week, sometimes working every day, but that he earned only £2,700 in 14 months. Mr. Bennett said he was forced to borrow money to pay his rent after the housing benefit was cut from £75 a week to £57 a week. It's kind of irrelevant because it doesn't really matter what he does with his money. Yes, there may be ways he could spend it slightly better and slightly more responsibly, but the impetus is on Iain Duncan Smith to prove he can live on £53 a week. Very quickly, the Daily Express, fish is key to a longer life. Yes, sure it is. And The Sun, war vets boycott fascist Di Canio. And there's a picture of Michael Bublé's wife, mother-to-be, in her pants. Fantastic stuff indeed. Right, 8:15, let's get the travel news now. Here's Brooke Burfett.
Beds, Herts and Bucks travel.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
The M25 anti-clockwise has solid queues, barely moving from junction 16 for the M40 to the closure of the carriageway at 15 for the M4. The queues are nasty, and I'm bearing more bad news, I'm afraid. My speed sensors show the delays of over an hour and a half now. The M40 Western Avenue northbound is slow from the Denham roundabout as traffic heads towards the M25. It's also busy on the A1 Watford Way from Apex Corner towards Mill Hill Circus. Over in Stevenage, Broadhall Way, very heavy in both directions this morning. morning at Gunnells Wood Road between the football ground and the A1M. And even further north, the A1 Great North Road, that's also got morning congestion from St Neots Junction. There's queues all the way to the Black Cat roundabout. Better news with the train, so Chiltern Railway have resumed a normal service. Brooke Burfitt, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Thank you, Brooke. Right, it's 8:16. It's Tuesday, the 2nd of April. I'm Iain Lee, and these are your headlines on BBC Three Counties Radio. 4 local men have been arrested after 2 football fans were attacked on their coach in Luton. It'll now cost you £2 to park at Luton Airport's drop-off zone. And in sport, it was a good start for Stevenage boss Graham Wesley as his side beat Hartlepool 1-0 yesterday. The weather today for Beds, Herts and Bucks, a cold and frosty but bright start. The rest of the day will remain dry and bright with some sunny spells. Maximum temperature is 7 degrees. Coming up, it's been dubbed one of the most radical plans in the history of the health service. From this week, GP-led groups will replace primary care trusts. Before 8:30, we'll find out what this could mean for local patients across the 3 counties. Who on earth is dialing my telephone at this time of the morning? Don't laugh. I normally have my phone 01582. What dialing code is that?
Luton.
Or it could be the boss. Oh, I could be in trouble. I'd better just take this, excuse me.
BBC Three Counties Radio. Nick Coffer on BBC Three Counties Radio.
Every weekday between 12 and 3, I'm here with a little bit of celebrity.
I'll always love being a comedian because it's my job, so I'm going to keep doing that.
I was voted Japan's #1 male vocalist of the year, and I beat out Frank Sinatra. How's that?
Expert advice.
It does sound like it's a mechanical pain brought on by altered mechanics in your upper limb.
Your capital's protected because I'm guessing what you don't want to do is take any risks with the capital itself.
And loads of really great music.
Nick Coffer, weekdays from 12 on BBC Three Counties Radio.
I prefer cold to being hot.
Do you?
Yeah. Jonathan Verner-Smith is here. He's complaining that it's carpet fitters. Oh, we're getting carpets fitted today. Why are they calling me? Just go and fit the carpets. I'm at work. For goodness sakes.
Oh, this is the number that was just phoned to your mobile?
Yes, it was. Could you do your thing? I need to email my wife.
Carpet fitter.
Yeah, we're getting carpets fitted today, which means when I get home, I'll have the lovely smell of new carpet.
Oh, I like that smell. What kind of carpet? Are they beige?
Yeah, well, I don't know. What colour? Well, yeah, they're
kind of... You don't know?
Well, it's just a carpet.
You don't know what colour carpet you're having?
Well, I don't know. It's kind of like a light brown.
Like oatmeal.
An oatmeal, yes.
Delicious.
You can't eat it, you fool. Imagine you crawling around on the floor. This carpet looks so delicious.
But I think...
Talk, I need to send an email, for goodness sake.
Why are you sending an email about your carpets now?
I've got to email my wife saying the carpet people are calling me for some reason.
Yeah, but look, I've just turned up to come and see you, and now you're turning your back on me and emailing.
Can you call 015...
Is it a nylon or a wool?
It's a nice one.
Is it?
Yeah, it's a nice one.
Posh carpet.
Posh carpet.
Squishy. Have you gone for a decent underlay?
Oh, for goodness sakes, Jonathan!
Sometimes you can have a very cheap carpet with a good quality underlay, and it gives you that nice quality squishy feel. Have you ever been to Buckingham Palace?
Yes, I have. Yes.
Have you felt the carpets at Buckingham Palace?
Well, I've not been inside Buckingham Palace.
Oh, I have.
How?
Well, I went for the open day. Last summer, and you walk around and you feel quality carpet. That's what
the Queen's not going to have a rough shag, is she? Of course she's not. She's going to have something decent. The Queen and Prince Philip are not going to have a rough shag. They're going to have something good, thick that you can really get stuck into. So
how can I distance myself from this conversation really quickly?
Sakes. Listen, that's what happens when you talk to me when I'm sending an email to my wife.
Have you sorted it out now?
Yes.
Good. Is £53 a week enough spending money for people on benefits? That's the big phone in this morning. You've been talking about this. The Work and Pension Secretary, Iain Duncan-Smith. Good double-barrelled name, you notice that. He's told the BBC he could live on £53 spending money per week. Since making this claim, over 25,000 people have gone online to sign a petition calling for Mr Duncan-Smith to try living this way for a year. Do you reckon you could live on £53 a week spending money?
No, not at all.
No?
No. Do you reckon you could?
Yes.
How?
I worked it out. I could do that.
How?
Well, you'd have to live very frugally.
Yes.
You'd have to live on... You'd have to cook for yourself for a start. You probably have to do something like Nigella's Rapid Ragu at the beginning of the... What?
No, you already... Look, you're showing how out of touch you are with the real world. Nigella's Rapid Ragu?
Yes, Nigella's Rapid Ragu. You do that at the weekend, separate it in Tupperware pots.
Oh, dear.
You got a dinner for pretty much every night of the week.
You haven't got a clue, have you?
I've been a student. I was poor. And you just prepare, don't you? You just prepare. You can't live an extravagant life.
No.
You can't have Sky TV.
No.
You can't have an iPhone. You can't have all these various things, admittedly. But you can live on 53 a week, can't you? Or perhaps you can't.
I don't think you can. What does that work out a day? £7 a day?
Something like that.
Yeah.
Is that not enough?
No, of course, it's nowhere near enough.
Well, I don't understand why.
OK, I'll tell you what. I'm laying down the challenge now. You do it for a week.
I could do it for a week.
Go on, then.
OK, next week.
Right.
Starting next week, so we get a full week.
Yes.
I'll live on that.
OK, you're actually going to do it?
Yeah.
OK.
So for my breakfast, I'll have 2 slices of value bread.
Yeah.
With some margarine.
You're not going to have some Herman Blumenthal's Philly
Herman
Foie Gras?
Blumenthal's? No, you just have a bit of value bran toast for lunch.
OK.
Bit of what?
No, well, the challenge is down. You can do that next week. I can't do it for medical reasons.
Look, this is surely £53. There'll be loads of people living on that, listening to this programme this morning.
OK.
There
will be, but it will be hard work. And I don't think...
No one's saying it's not going to be hard work.
I don't think you can do it.
Why don't you think I can do it?
I think you will find it very, very difficult, and I think you will struggle.
OK. Well, we'll see, won't we?
There was a tension in the air this morning.
53... I mean, admittedly, I'll have to cut back on the Pinot. Do they sell value brand Pinot?
Finish up your thing. I've got guests coming on.
Is £53 a week enough spending money for people on benefits? I want your views and your experiences as you've lived on that from 9 this morning on the big phone-in.
08459 455 555. I look forward to listening to that.
OK.
Are we still friends?
Yeah.
Well, it's a little bit tense, though.
Oh, not for me.
Oh, just for me then.
Just for you.
Get
you
out.
Leave out the tension.
Get out, for goodness sakes. 08459 455 555 if you want to give Jonathan a call, or you can send him an email, jvsshow@bbc.co.uk. Now, it's been dubbed one of the most radical plans in the history of the health service, GP-led groups replacing primary care trusts. From this week, clinical commissioning groups are being put in charge of a large chunk of the NHS budget. The changes mean councils will be taking charge of public health. Well, Conservative councillor Debbie Brock is chair of the Shadow Health and Wellbeing Board at Milton Keynes Council. Good morning, councillor.
Morning.
And also we've got Dr Jeremy Cox, is a GP in Hitchin and is chairman of the Hertfordshire Medical Committee. Good morning, doctor.
Good morning.
Debbie, let's start with you. Local councils are taking over some of the responsibilities of the NHS. From now on, they'll be taking charge of public health. How does this work?
Public health is coming into the local authority to really help advise and help with a sort of robust planning of services so that actually everyone's aligned in a far greater way than ever they were before to getting absolutely the very best outcomes for everybody.
How will local councils do this differently from the NHS?
Local councils, I think, have a far more robust system of governance, I suppose, and also the financial accountability. You know, our budget processes are extremely robust and rigorous. And really this is about, as I say, everybody aligning their efforts and working hard to get absolutely the maximum benefit out of this. And that's what this is really all about.
Are you sure you're in a better position to do this than the medical professionals?
Well, public health historically it did sit sort of much more in a sort of local council type format anyway. Public health has come back to the local authority, if you like. So I think this is a very good move. It is about preventing ill health and protecting public health. And as you said, public health is a constituent part of health and wellbeing boards going forward, and that's the real change for the local authority, really.
Doctor, let me just interrupt. Dr Cox, how do you feel about the changes?
I think we're not quite sure how they're going to work yet. Of course, a lot of the people who'll be running public health were people who were working in public health when it was in the PCTs, and a lot of the stuff they were commissioning from me as a GP, they're continuing to do. So, to be honest, I don't think we know exactly how it's going to work yet. We'll see over the next few months.
What are GPs saying?
They're saying let's hope things don't change for the worse. Let's try and work with whoever is commissioning services from us to make them work in the best way possible for patients.
So is there a worry amongst doctors that this won't work?
I think a really big change, like you said this is always a worry. I think change often makes people uncomfortable and can be difficult.
What are you worried about? What could go wrong with this?
I think we're in a difficult time in the NHS. Money is tight, and big changes, moving responsibility from people who we've known for some time to a new group, makes us feel anxious that they'll be able to do the job in the right way.
Debbie, are people aware of these changes, Debbie?
I think they are. I think, they've been very much heralded by that act last year, and I think the other thing you have to remember is that public health has been moving across to councils over the last year, really, and CCGs, as your guest will know, have also been operating in shadow form, as has the Shadow Health and Wellbeing Board. So it's not as if suddenly all the cards are up in the air last night and settling today. People have had a run-in, and CCGs have been going through an authorisation process, and in Milton Keynes ours was authorised in, I think, about February time. So, the roles have been moving, and it's finally, the responsibility that changes as of yesterday. And it's a welcome. I think it's a welcome change. Public health, one of their guiding sort of principles is the glass half full. The asset approach to how we can improve community health and well-being. And it really is the ethos for the Health and Wellbeing Board going forward that we're all there to ensure that the needs of local populations are met.
Debbie, how will we know? How can we measure whether this has been a success or not? How long do we give it, and what signs of improvement will there be from the previous system?
Well, talking from the Health and Wellbeing Board point of view, one of the things that we've done in our shadow phase is to put together a strategy how we think we're going to improve the health and wellbeing for people in Milton Keynes. It's very much a partnership board, although it's a committee of the council. It's there to bring together GPs and other health professionals, the local health watch who represent the views of patients, and we're there to enact this strategy to improve wellbeing, reduce early deaths and tackle major diseases, and to start reducing those health inequalities that exist in the community.
Debbie, thank you very much indeed. The two voices you heard there were Councillor Debbie Brock, and the other voice was Dr Jeremy Cox, who is a GP in Hitchin. 08459 455 555 is the number if you want to give us a call. Right, let's get the latest travel news now. Here's Brooke.
Beds, Herts and Bucks travel.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
There are nasty queues on the M25 anti-clockwise from junction 16 for the M40. It's slow all the way to 15 for the M4. Delays of over an hour and a half there. The carriageway is completely closed for investigation work to an accident earlier. And these queues are causing problems on the M40 as well into London, where it's queuing from junction 2 at Beaconsfield towards the M25. Further east in Bricketwood, North Orbital Road has the usual rush hour congestion at the roundabout for the M25. The M25 clockwise, that's also slow through the roadworks between junction 22 at St Albans to 23 for South Mims. Brooke Burfitt, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Thank you, Brooke. Right, nearly 8:30. Let's get the latest news and sport now. Here's Serena Farrow.
Getting beds, hearts and bucks talking.
This is BBC Three Counties Radio.
Good morning. 4 local men have been arrested after 2 Kidderminster fans were attacked on their coach in Luton yesterday. Meanwhile, parking charges have doubled at Luton Airport's drop-off zone. It'll now cost £2 for 15 minutes. The Chancellor will defend the benefits shake-up later on. He's expected to say that the changes introduced this month will mean around 9 out of 10 working households will be better off. Stay listening, as JVS will be asking, is £53 a week enough spending money for people on benefits? All that from 9 o'clock this morning. And clinical commissioning groups across Beds, Herts and Bucks, which are led by GPs, have now taken charge of a large portion of the NHS budget. That's the news. Now let's have a look at the morning sport.
Beds, Hearts and Bucks Sport.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
So Dean Bowditch and Stephen Gleeson helped MK Dons to victory yesterday. They beat Brentford 2-0, which boosts the Dons to 10th and keeps their playoff hopes alive. Staying with League One, and Graham Wesley seems to be a good luck charm for Stevenage. He took charge of his first match since his return to the club. His side beat Hartlepool 1-0 with a goal coming from Max Emma. And it doesn't just stop there, as Wesley's hopeful for more success.
I guess the club, wants to progress, and I want somewhere, again where I can progress further. So, ambition, I suppose, is the link that keeps myself and Stevenage together.
Luton are 9th, having lost to conference leaders Kidderminster Harriers 2-1. In Championship news, Leeds United manager Neil Warnock's parted company with that club. Warnock left his job around 2 hours after Leeds' 2-1 defeat by Derby. And finally, KC Stadium tonight. Second place Hull play third place Watford. A win for Gianfranco Zola's side would move them to within a point of Hull. BBC Three Counties Radio. There'll be more from me at 9.
You gave it a bit of an accent there.
Did I?
Yeah, it was good.
Hull.
No, not that.
Oh.
Gianfranco Zola. Can we have it again?
Gianfranco Zola.
There we go, it's fantastic.
Across Beds, Hearts and Bucks, this is Iain Lee on BBC Three Counties Radio.
It was a French accent, but never mind indeed. Morning, this is Iain Lee, BBC Three Counties Radio, here pretty much every weekday between 6 and 9 o'clock. JVS takes over at 9. Always a cracking listen, thoroughly enjoyable. Coming up in the last 28 minutes of the show, well, we've been reporting this all morning, and this is thanks to a gentleman. And this just shows we had a phone call at 5:20 from a gentleman who'd spotted this. It's become one of the big stories on the show, so if you want to take part or you've spotted something, do get in touch and let us know, either on the phone or via the email. It's the story about if you want to drop a passenger off at Luton Airport. Well, the charges have increased. It was £1 for 10 minutes before, and now it's £2 for 15 minutes. I've always thought this charge was a little bit cheeky, and it was brought to our attention by Alan in Harpenden. He gave us a call. Spotted the extra charge this morning when he was dropping his daughter off.
Well, I was quite surprised. I had to pop along to drop my daughter off, and 5:15 is a good time to get there, I think. And you pull in normally, pay your £1, 10 minutes, and off you go. And there's a sign standing there saying £2. I thought, this is a bit April Fool's, perhaps, is it? But no, it's 100% rise. And I was there 3 days earlier picking her up, and it's 100% rise. So I was able to speak to the chap who was by the barrier, and I said, is this right? When did this happen? Oh, it happened this morning, he said. He managed to contain his smile, was very pleasant about it, but I've only got £1, I've only driven from Harpenden, I didn't expect to spend £2, so he very kindly raised the barrier and I was on my way. But it left me with a strange feeling, 100% pay rise there.
Well, we've been trying to get hold of the airport all morning, but no one is available to comment as of yet. Our reporter, Justin Dealey, luckily had an extra quid in his pocket and has been talking to the people dropping off passengers this morning. Justin, what have people been saying about this?
Well, Ian, I can tell you one thing, they are not happy. I've got a challenge for our listeners between now and 9, so it's gone from £1 for 10 minutes to £2 for 15 minutes. Yeah. I want to know, what exciting things can be done in 5 minutes in a drop-off zone? If we're going to get the full value for money here, please get in contact. I want some ideas here.
08459 455 555. You've got an extra 5 minutes in the drop-off zone. How are you going to fill it?
Absolutely. Well, earlier on, I was in the drop-off zone at Luton Airport. People there not happy. This is what they had to say. Tony, you're here this morning in the drop-off zone. You've noticed the charges have gone up to £2. What's your reaction to that, sir?
My reaction is it's quite appalling, really, because, I mean, it's a convenient place for people to stop and drop off, and when you think of the size of the airport, it needs it, and it needs the capacity to go through and flow. But for £2, it's ridiculous. With the amount of time you stay here, it's quite scandalous.
You now get an extra 5 minutes. I presume you won't need that extra 5 minutes anyway.
No, absolutely not. No.
Okay, and just lastly, why can't you use the free car park?
Well, just because of the family and stuff like that, we need to get dropped off quickly and get moving because, getting through the airport is much more complex these days, particularly with all the security. So it's really a quick turnaround and get back out again.
Jackie, it's gone from £1 to £2. Your reaction, please?
Well, I do think it's a huge rise to double the money in one hit. I just can't understand why they have to go up 100%.
I mean, funny enough, when you came to the airport this morning, you and your husband were having that exact conversation anyway, weren't you?
Well, we were. I mean, funny enough, before we leave in the morning, we actually say, have you got £1 for the charge? And when we came in here and saw it was £2, we quickly scrambled around. Have you got another one?
Are you being ripped off?
Oh, definitely. For the sake of, 10 minutes, and then your car's towed away. You know, so you're paying £1 anyway. We thought was quite high for 10 minutes, but £2. Yes, I think
it's now £2 for 15 minutes. You get an extra 5 minutes.
Wow. It doesn't take an extra 5 minutes for somebody to jump out of the car, and it doesn't even take us 10 minutes. So we actually thought £1 was a rip-off for however long it takes to drop someone off.
Well, Lindsay, you're in the drop-off zone this morning. Been dropping your husband off. This £2 charge, you're not happy at all. Can you tell us why?
Well, I've got a baby in the car here, so we can't park anywhere else, and I just think it's a bit too much, really, because it's only for a few minutes, and £2 is rather a lot.
So you don't feel like you're getting value for money at all?
No, not at all. It's been like £1 for ages. There's like no sign down there, so you don't know how much it is. So I think it's a bit of like a rip-off, yeah.
You get an extra 5 minutes now.
An extra 5 minutes, do we?
Yes.
Oh, well, that's something, I suppose. But you don't really need it. So you sort of just come here and then you leave. So I think it's a bit too much, really.
Okay, and just lastly, some of our listeners may say, why can't you use the free car park for 30 minutes?
Well, I've got a baby in the car, so using the free car park would be a bit of a nightmare. I think we actually need this here.
08459 455 555. What do you think? Is it a bit of a con? I do like Luton Airport, but it seems very cheeky. And what would you do with the extra 5 minutes? Well, Justin, people there not happy with it at all, are they?
No, clearly not happy. Some of them, of course, were shocked about it as well. They believe there was no warning about this. And, of course, if you stay longer than 15 minutes, you will be fined £80. But those people saying there, well, the extra 5 minutes, I don't need the extra 5 minutes because I come into this drop-off zone, I'm here for literally 2-3 minutes absolute tops, and then I drive away. The idea, of course, is to reduce congestion in the area, but as you heard there from some of those people, if they've got children in the car and flights coming in, we know flights can be delayed. They can even be early in.
What?
So, but yes, I know they can even be early, some flights. So some people are saying it's all very well having that free 30 minutes, but I need to be here in this drop-off zone, and £2 for 50 minutes, as far as they're concerned, is too much.
You do. If you've got kids in the car, if you've got kids getting on the plane, you've got elderly people, you need to be able to get as close as you can to the airport. Boom, get them out, get the things out. 2 minutes, 3 minutes top. Angela on Facebook has said maybe everyone should use the 15 minutes. The airport would be gridlocked. We go from Heathrow or Gatwick now. The thing is, I do like Luton Airport, and I'm not one of the presenters here that knocks Luton Airport all the time. I think it's cracking. But there are people, and I'll read some more of the Facebook comments out in a bit, there are people that are not very happy with it, and this is another thing to be unhappy about.
Well, I think in terms of Luton Airport, it's something that everybody in Luton can be very, very proud of. It's a very, very successful airport. I've been reporting from that airport for a good 10 years or so now. You often hear people saying, it is a wonderful airport, so convenient, but when you think about the prices for parking, the prices for the trolleys, the prices for the bags, I think some people feel like the mickey has been taken there, and you've heard the views from people this morning. Again, clearly not happy. I didn't speak to one person in, and for anybody who thinks, did you find anybody who thinks that £2 was good value for money, but you didn't play it? I can guarantee you right now, I did not speak to one person who thinks this new charge of £2 for 15 minutes is good value for money.
Justin, thank you very much indeed. Well, maybe you do think it's good value for money. 08459 455 555. Are we making a mountain out of the proverbial, or do you think it's a rip-off? And you've got an extra 5 minutes in the drop-off zone. How are you going to fill it? 08459 455 555. Well, Chris Yates is an independent aviation expert. Morning, Chris.
Morning, Ian.
Is this reasonable, £2 for a 15-minute drop-off?
Well, 100% rise. There's an argument to suggest that it's not reasonable, and also an argument to suggest that more notice ought to have been given. A debate with the people who use the airport, essentially, as to whether the additional charge is warranted. But I would make the point here that airports have to make money to operate the services that they operate, and if that cost of operation is not coming from the airlines, then it will have to come from the passengers.
It does seem a little bit cheeky, though, Chris, to expect people to pay a couple of quid for 15 minutes when normally dropping off takes about 2 minutes tops. And I use Luton, I use Heathrow a lot as well when we fly out to Greece to visit family. And the drop-off in Heathrow, I know it's bigger, but it works perfectly. People drop off, and if you're there too long, there's a couple of traffic wardens who kind of knock on the window and say, right, you have to move now. And it seems to work.
But then you've got to remember that in terms of the cost of operation, Heathrow is an awful lot bigger, of course. It has a lot of those legacy airlines that pay an awful lot of money for the services that are provided by the airport itself. So a lot of their costs are covered. But if you look at the business model of somewhere like Luton Airport, it is predominantly a low-cost operation from there. And it has to be said that low-cost airlines put pressure on airports consistently to reduce costs, and reduce costs to them, to the extent that you possibly get to a point where you have to recoup the cost of operation from somewhere else, and this may well be one example of that.
Well, earlier on in the show, Chris, we spoke to Tony Dixon, the editor of Airliner World magazine, and he seemed adamant that this wasn't to raise money, this was purely to ease congestion. Are you convinced by that?
Well, both ways. You can look at it both ways. Yes, there is a congestion issue, and yes, you could argue that this is to ease that congestion. The other side of that argument, of course, will be to make the drop-off zone an awful lot bigger to accommodate the amount of traffic passing through, the amount of people passing through it. But, of course, that implies that somebody has to spend an awful lot of money.
Chris, thank you very much indeed. Chris Yates, independent aviation expert. What do you think? If you use Luton Airport a lot, maybe you use it for business, or you go away on holidays, or you're a taxi driver. I did always find the quid for 10 minutes a little bit cheeky. £2 for 15 minutes. 08459 455 555. And also, you've got 5 extra minutes in the drop-off zone. How are you going to fill them? Now, there's the papers are filled with this Iain Duncan Smith claiming he could live on £53 a week. Well, Jonathan Vernon Smith has risen to the challenge. John's in Dunstable. Morning, John.
Good morning, Ian.
JVS is going to do this next week.
Well, good luck to him. I'm sure he'll manage it quite easily, Ian.
Do you reckon?
I do. It was just a question of a little bit of clarification, really. I mean, is that just exclusively for food?
I'm just reading. I don't think so. We will clarify this, and you're right to point that out. Thank you very much, John. I'm just skimming through the Independent to see exactly what...
I'm thinking, bus fares for job interviews, clean materials for the house. Is it just one person? Any heating costs?
You raise a good point. We're going to investigate this further. I'm trying to see. It doesn't specify exactly what... I would imagine it would cover transport. It would cover food. John, you're right to flag this up. You've caught me on the...
And I'll tell you what, Ian... You must mention to JVS to bypass Waitrose and head towards Aldi.
Yes. Oh, my goodness.
Because for Aldi, I reckon for 20 quid a week, you could easily feed one person.
Can you imagine JVS in Aldi?
If you're feeling any ears now, it'd be awful.
But
you can get a bottle of Pinot in there.
Can you? How much?
£4.99.
Well, he's just going to spend his 53 quid on that. He's going to buy 10 bottles of that. It'll be sorted. John, listen, thank you very much for raising that. You did get me on the back foot slightly. You're correct to raise that. We need to clarify this. This £53 a week, exactly what it means. It's definitely food. I would imagine transport's included in that as well. Certainly any luxuries would be included in that. Barry from Hemel says, 53 quid per week. I wish a pensioner on basic state pension has nowhere this. Do the sums. I know there's something missing there. I can't quite work out. Anyone can live on £53 a week. Week in and week out is different. It's very hard, but can be done. A meagre existence, though. Got to be a strong character to stay happy on it. Dawn. Does the 53... yes, we've addressed this. Does this exclude food items he already has in his luxury flat, plus the electric and gas he already has on? He needs to deduct those costs, plus water from the £53 before he starts. Otherwise, it's unrealistic. Well, 08459 455 555 is the telephone number. Look, Jonathan Vernon Smith has messaged me. Actually, I do my shopping in Aldi every week. Photographic evidence, JVS, otherwise it didn't happen, please. Travel news. Here's Brooke Burford.
Beds, Herts and Bucks travel.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
The problems continue on the M25 anti-clockwise as queuing from junction 16 for the M40 to 15 for the M4. The anti-clockwise carriageway is closed for investigation work to an accident earlier, and it's taking traffic about an hour and a half to pass through those queues. It's also causing a knock-on effect on the M40 into London, which is queuing from junction 2 at Beaconsfield. The M25 clockwise is slow this morning because through the roadworks between junction 22 at St Albans to 23 for South Mims, and the anti-clockwise, that's also heavy at junction 25 for Enfield. The M1 into London is moving about 30 miles an hour between junction 10 at Luton Airport Spur Road to 7 in Hemel Hempstead, and in Stevenage finally Broadhall Way is busy in both directions between the football ground and the A1M. Brooke Burford, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Brooke, thank you very much. Right, 8:46. I'm Iain Lee, and these are your headlines on BBC Three Counties Radio. 4 local men have been arrested after football fans were attacked on their coach in Luton. Parking charges have increased at Luton Airport's drop-off zone. And in sport, Stevenage and MK Dons tasted victory yesterday, but Luton lost 2-1 to Kidderminster Harriers. Coming up, we'll get more on the story that football fans were attacked in Luton yesterday. Before 9, we'll hear from Luton Town Supporters Club and the local ambulance service. 08459 455 555 is the phone number. But now let's get the latest weather with Lara Lewington.
Beds, Herts and Bucks weather.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Well, it may be looking bright and sunny out there today, but don't be deceived. It's still very chilly. Those temperatures up to just 7 degrees. By tonight, we're going to see an increase in cloud cover. And overnight, that means the temperatures aren't going to drop as low as they may have done otherwise, down to about -1, which is still pretty chilly for this time of year. And in fact, the easterly winds making it feel even colder than those figures. Now, throughout tomorrow, that cloud could translate into the odd shower, possibly even a little bit of sleet or snow, but certainly nothing substantial, and tomorrow's temperatures similar to the highs of today's.
Thank you very much. Tonight, Three Counties Sport concentrates on the top of the championship.
There's a decent effort, they've hit the crossbar and it's gone in!
We're live from the KC Stadium in Hull as Watford hope to continue their assault on automatic promotion.
Deeney inside the box, can he cut it back for Fisher? Here is Martin Fincher, who scores and puts Watford ahead!
You can hear the whole game live on FM, AM, online and digital radio.
And Deeney has scored!
Three Counties Sport, tonight from 7 on BBC Three Counties Radio. Here until 9 o'clock then JVS, who has convinced me he shops in Aldi already. It will be on at 9 o'clock. Now, a football fan has been stabbed and another taken to hospital after their coach was attacked in Luton. It happened yesterday in Dunstable Road near the Mansfield Road junction. Gary Sanderson is from the East of England Ambulance Service. Morning, Gary.
Good morning to you.
Gary, what can you tell us about what happened yesterday?
Well, we received a call just before 5:30 to Mansfield Road, reports of 2 people being stabbed. Thankfully, both received non-life-threatening injuries and they were conveyed to hospital in one ambulance.
And how are the men doing? Do we have any word on that?
Not as far as we're aware. As I say, they were non-life-threatening, minor injuries really. So I would have thought they would have been discharged later last night.
Okay.
But thankfully, not serious.
Do you see much of this kind of stuff in Luton, or, Gary, or is this a rarity?
Stabbings are on the increase throughout the region, throughout the country, sadly. It's a very frightening thing for our crews to deal with, but it does happen, sadly, and we do respond to them.
Gary Sanderson from the East of England Ambulance Service, thank you very much. We can speak now to Steve Millington, who is the chairman of the Kidderminster Harriers Independent Supporters Trust. Morning, Steve.
Good morning.
Steve, what have you heard about what happened yesterday?
Well, reports are a little bit sketchy as it happens. I didn't manage to travel down to the game myself. We understand that a coach was attacked about a mile away from the ground in the convoy of coaches being escorted by the police. It seems that somebody either threw something at one of the coaches or something happened to cause a bit of a hold-up, and some people got off the last coach, which wasn't one officially organised by Kidderminster Harriers, I'm told, to, in inverted commas, remonstrate with the person. We only even understand that one of the people on that coach was a Luton Town fan travelling with a Kidderminster support. He'd come down with some of his mates to follow his team, and obviously take it he wasn't too keen on the attack made on the coach by some of the local people. But as the ambulance chap says there, we understand the injuries weren't life-threatening, and we're pleased to hear that. But obviously it's a deplorable state of affairs, and the sort of thing that is not needed in football or in society in general.
Would something like this put your club off coming back to Luton?
Well, I wouldn't thought so. I mean, obviously people will bear it in mind, I would think, when considering visiting Luton in the future. But it's just one of those sad state of affairs that it could happen almost anywhere, really, and it's just not needed, is it?
Steve, thank you very much indeed. We can speak now to Kevin Barrett, who chairs Luton Town Supporters Club. Good morning, Kevin.
Morning.
It's not great, and we have been saying all morning this probably isn't anything to do with football and the football fans, but listen, I've only been to Luton Town once. I'm a very casual football goer. This kind of thing happening so close to the ground would certainly make me question about going back to a football match there.
Yeah, I think as the previous chap said, we have to draw a distinction here in the fact that it looks like it probably wasn't directly football related, and therefore I suppose these sort of incidents could happen, anywhere and in any circumstances, not just with with a football coach, but. I agree with you. There will be plenty of people like yourself out there who may look at this and think, "Oh, there's been an attack in Luton," and it does not just the football club, but the whole town of Luton. No help, really.
How will it affect Luton Town Football Club? Because there have been stories in the past about Luton Town, but it's cleaned up its image. It's got a pretty good image. Things like this aren't going to help, are they? Whether it's connected to football or not.
No, I'd say. I mean, the fact that it's the top story at the moment, relating to Luton doesn't do us any favours. I guess the police and what have you will have their own thoughts on what actually happened. It was interesting to hear that the coaches were actually being escorted away from the ground, which is obviously done to speed up the exit of the fans and the coaches away from the ground and stop incidents like this happening. So without knowing the full background to exactly what happened, it's difficult to comment. But as I say, I think it's one of those things. Without I obviously wish the fans that were injured all the best. But I think it's one of those things that will blow over. I don't think it's going to be one of those things that's going to stick in people's minds and think, oh, Luton Town, that's where two fans got stabbed, kind of thing. And you do hear of this on the continent. Fans travelling away. Spurs fans over the last couple of seasons and what have you, having been targeted. And does it stop them travelling? No, I don't think it does. It's deplorable. It shouldn't happen. It's an indictment on our society. But I think to pin it too closely to the football club would be an injustice on Luton Town.
Kevin, apart from the run of luck in the FA Cup, Luton Town are playing terribly. Why do you bother supporting them?
In the hope that they'll actually turn around.
Can they?
I think so. I mean, not this season. I think most football fans are resigned to the fact that we are where we are. We're not going to get relegated. He says, touching wood. It's a case of we've got a new manager in there. He needs some time. He's doing a bit of tinkering. We will get back to good times again the only thing I can put it down to be honest, for the people who do turn out, it ends up being an addiction. You sit there on a Saturday, if you didn't go, thinking, what am I going to do today, kind of thing. It is addictive, football. That's the only thing I can put it down to.
John Still, new manager. Any good?
I've liked what he's done so far.
You're hesitating there, Kevin. You're hesitating.
Well, I'm trying to take a view from my own point of view. Yes, I think my honest opinion is yes, I think he's really good news for the football club. But I also know that he's going to be chalk and cheese. He's not going to turn it round overnight. And the question in the back of my mind is the fan base as a whole going to give him the time that he needs to do this? This is not an overnight job. It's not a case of next season turning up and winning every single game. And unfortunately, there are a number of fans out there who sort of believe that, and my concern is that if after the first 6 to 7 games of the season things aren't quite going exactly how certain sections of the fans think it should be going, that they end up turning on John Still, and we end up back to square one where we've been for the last 3 seasons.
Kevin, listen, I'm promoting you. You're the manager. Who are you going to get rid of, and who are you going to sign up?
God.
Come on, I want you to get rid of 2 and get in 2 new players.
I think he's been...
Come on, Kevin, who are you going to get rid of? You're not always squirming out of this.
Very difficult. With being put on the spot like that, it's impossible to say. I'm sorry, I'm going to...
You must have played this game in the pub, come on.
I don't know. Personally, I'm not sure about Iain.
Yep.
If I was being pushed to get rid of players,
Ainge will go.
Yeah,
Ainge is out. Anyone else? One more that you Scott Rendell?
No. I mean, I'm probably going to be fans screaming at the radio now. Scott Rendell, I think, is a decent player, and no, I think he's got a role. Who else? I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure. Again, just people are going to be screaming at the radio.
Andre Gray surely has to be on his way out, doesn't he?
Well, I think possibly from the point of view that the fact that someone else is going to come in for him. I mean, he wouldn't be on my list to say let's get rid of him.
Kevin, listen, I'm going to let you go. I put you on the spot. I could hear you squirming and faltering. You took it like a good sport, Kevin, and I appreciate that. Thank you very much indeed, Kevin Barrett, who chairs Luton Town Supporters Club. That was a bit mean of me. And Kevin, you're a good sport. And thank you to Work Experience Ollie, who was making it sound like I knew anything about football. I just did a whole 10 minutes about football. I know nothing about it whatsoever. And Ollie was prompting me with some of the names. I would have bluffed my way pretty well, but with some of the names. And thank you, Kevin, for being a very good sport. Don't forget, one of the stories we've been talking about this morning is the increase in charges at Luton Airport. It's been quite Luton-based, the show this morning. We'll spread it out a bit tomorrow, don't worry. And we got that story because a gentleman phoned us up at 5:20 this morning. Who'd have thunk it? The phones rang and we all panicked. But it's a reminder, it's a good way. If you spot something, he was just coming out of the car park and it cost him an extra £1 that he didn't have. If you spot something that you think we should be talking about on the show or on the station as a whole, do get in touch. You can call us anytime, 08459 455 555, or send me an email. JVS, that's the other fella. Don't send it to him. Give it to me. We'll pass on the scraps. Iain.lee@bbc.co.uk. IAN.LEE@bbc.co.uk. Right. Travel news now. Here's Brooke Burfett.
Beds, Hearts and Bucks travel.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Well, I'm afraid there's been little change to the very long delays on the M25 anti-clockwise. The carriageway is shut at junction 15 for the M4 because of investigation work to an earlier accident. Traffic is having to divert onto the M4. That's causing queues back from junction 16. Because of this, the M40 is queuing onto the M25 from junction 2 at Beaconsfield. Nearby on the A40 Western Avenue, heading out of London, one lane is blocked by a breakdown at the Swakeleys roundabout. Further west in Marlow, the A404 has rush hour traffic between Marlow Junction and the High Wycombe Handy Cross roundabout, and the M1 into London as moving at about 30 miles an hour between junction 10 at Luton Airport Spur Road to junction 7 and 8 in Hemel Hempstead. Brooke Burfett, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Thank you very much, Brooke. Well, I've just had Jonathan in my ear confirming he does shop in Lidl and doing Aldi. He's just corrected me. Not Lidl, it's Aldi, for goodness sakes, get it right. He'll explain more after this.
Getting beds, hearts and bugs talking.
This is BBC Three Counties Radio.
Thank you, Iain. People have the wrong idea about me. Welcome to the JVS show. I'm Jonathan Vernon Smith. And on today's big phone-in, is £53 a week enough